This is Jadan Blackamore live on the rec, and you're in tune to the new school roots and culture reggae music Taste of Consciousness with Selector AD, the Bambu King on KSKQ 89.5 FM in Ashland, Oregon. Homegrown community radio. Log on and don't be strange to the music. This is Blackamore. Yo, Selector AD, Bambu King.
How we run Ashland, yeah. Music for Ashland,
Hey, yo, it's Blackamore. Hey, yo, Selector AD, hear me.
Turn up the music loud and make it blessed tonight. We don't want no stress tonight. Say yes to life. Say yes to life. Say yes to life. Come you see the sunrise and set tonight. You have to give thanks for life. The vibes is right. Say yes to life. Say yes. So precious. What a blessing. Each and every day another lesson. We're taking chances. Hang it in the balance. And you know we would risk it all for the ones we love. Yeah. Yo. So throw down your guns and come make we have some fun and make we have fun. Turn up the music loud and make it blessed tonight. We don't want no stress tonight. Say yes to life. Say yes to life. Ashland people, from you see the sunrise and set tonight. You better give thanks to life. The vibes is right. Say yes to life. Say yes. Stand up close to the speaker box, and make the music hit you from your foot to your head top. The kick drum and the rim shot. And they when they shot me bustin' on the dance can't stop. Just we tired of the violence. So rock and come in and make the dance it's nice again. And if you meet a friend and if she wants stay the night, it's no problem. Turn up the music loud and make it blessed tonight. We don't want no stress tonight. Yes to life. Say yes to life. Say yes, say yes. From you see the sunrise and set tonight. You want to give thanks for life. Vibes is right. Say yes to life. Say yes, say yes, say yes. Bambu King, Selector AD. For y'all of me Ashland people, it's Blackamore. Ever really. I play the music night and day. For the people that rock and sway. You know, you hear Blackamore say. I stand up close to the speaker box. Make the music hit you from your head to your foot back. The kick drum and the rim shot. And they only shot me but send on the dance can't stop. Jump with a yada the violence. Rock and come in and make the dance get nice again. Selector AD make the dance get nice again. Make it nice again. Wow. Make it nice again. You know it's black. Come on, live on the rec. You know your district. Oh yeah. So nice. So when you're giving thanks for life. So nice. Life.
All right, family. All right. Peace, greetings. Welcome to another edition of Baba TV Every Time Fire. This very special announcement and edition of Baba TV with none other than my brother, Selector AD, the Bambu King. And first of all, I would like to give a shout out to my big brother, Jadan Blackamore. You just heard him on that beautiful intro and that he plugged that he gave to AD for his channel. Well deserving shout out and for the plugs that he gave me through Ross AD. I'm forever ever thankful for that. I don't want to overuse them because I cherish them, and I thank you, Jadan Blackamore. Brother was right sitting up in Brooklyn shout out to Brooklyn among us for a long time. Many of you in Brooklyn know him already. Jadan Blackamore. This is a shout out to our brother Jadan Blackamore. Thank you very much, brother. And while I'm on the shout outs, I want to give a shout out to Messenger Sela, my elder and big brother Messenger Sela. Thank you, sir, for everything that you have done to help Baba TV and support Baba TV through Ross AD with the plugs and so forth. I really, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate that. And further shout out to Sugar Top Buttery out there in Ashland, Oregon. Shout out to the Rising Buffalo Tribe. Shout out to you too, and Dread Mike Leslie. Keep going. Don't stop. Keep right on going. Shout out to all of you and the whole of Ashland, Oregon. If I left anybody out, those were the few that I'm familiar with right now. But shout out to everybody in Ashland, Oregon. So without further ado, I hope the sound is right. I think we finally got it right with the assistance of Selector AD. I think it's finally okay. Without further ado, we have it's a festival going on in Oregon, and with Selector AD as the selected DJ for these big, you got Perfect Gideonmani, so many, I can't even, my eyes is getting bad. I'll let the brother go in, but it's so, just to name a few, it's so many. Shout out to Sirius the Witness. I ain't forgot about you, Bobo. I ain't forgot about you. Shout out to everybody, and I'm just excited. I want to hear what we got coming up here. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Yes, yo, big up Baba TV. Every time fire, each and every time. Hotep Poo to you and the family too. Greetings and salutations. Massive respect to all the family out there, the Baba TV universe, and everyone who's tuned in or will be tuning in when they get a chance to get the culture music update and the Oregon Reggae Fest update. Thank you so much, Brother Baba, for allowing me the opportunity to share with the family about some of the things going on out here, and hopefully just try to invigorate some of the things that are going on back there, because there's things happening all over. We've opened back up, somewhat, and people are coming out. People are trying to get some more music in their life and dance their blues away and do what they can with the troubles of the day to find a better way. So, we just trying to share what's going on out here, what we're trying to help encourage out here, and hopefully inspire others to get involved out there with the things going on. So so primarily that's what we're doing. And I just wanted to share with you about the Oregon Reggae Fest, which is coming up this Saturday, which is August 20th, and it's going to be taking place at the Jackson Wellspring in Ashland, Oregon. It's the premier West Coast Reggae Festival. As a lot of people know, a lot of the reggae festivals over the last few years have been going on for nearly 40 years. Reggae on the River, Sierra Nevada Music
Pardon
Festival.
me one second. You're crackling, brother, a little bit. If you can move the device, I don't know what it is, but it seems like you're popping a little bit.
Okay. Let me here. Let me see if I can plug myself into this to these headphones and make it a bit better, because it might just be time to change this phone out. I hope that's not the case. Wind is kind of blowing on us too, so that's what it is too. Yeah, that may be something to do with it. And perfect. Sound a little better now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, so we so we got some stuff going on. We got some stuff going on here at the Rogue Valley this Saturday. Coming up, we got the Oregon Reggae Festival, Oregon Reggae Fest, which is being put on, sponsored by LRG Clothing. And LRG Clothing, big clothing line and gear line across the country now, but big out here and big in the reggae music scene, Rastafarian scene. A lot of people love them some LRG shirts and hats and apparel. So LRG proud to sponsor LRG's Oregon Reggae Fest, being curated by Chalice Row Records, and Brother Biggs, Brother Reds, Perfect Gideonmani, Chalice Row Records, Massive and crew coming together to put together the huge lineup, which is just a massive lineup. Wanted to go over it. It's huge headliners: Perfect Gitamani out of Jamaica, Sister Carol, Turbulence, The Future, going to headline as well. Blackamore, Jadan Blackamore from Guyana. We got Black Hero, big new artist out of Jamaica right now, and sort of dance hall and crossover and reggae artists out of Jamaica right now. Black Hero, which is spelled BLVKH3RO. In case you're trying to look them up, you're not finding them. Black Hero, it's spelled BLVKH3RO. We got Young Shanty, the sweet sounds of the sweetest ghetto falsetto in the house from Chalice Row Productions. Young Shanty going to be their huge conscious MC. If you don't know about Illuminati Congo going to be in the house. And you may be familiar with Illuminati Congo's done works with the Twin Pillars, Red Pill, Blue Pill, super conscious, progressive-minded, deep MC dealing with hip-hop and reggae and dancehall from a very deep, metaphysical, conscious perspective. And he's also going to be running some breath exercise workshops and meditation workshops at the event as well. Brother Biblical from Northern California, Brother Biblical, Trinity Farms Records, Don. We got Bobo David, Currency King, and Brother Biblical coming up with the Trinity Farms band. Dub and Dope going to be doing his Dubwise, his future dub experience, which is incredible. Huge live dub DJ doing some deep breakdowns like you would have never seen before. Check it out, Dub and Dope the Traveler, if you haven't seen it. Jalonzo, Brother Jalonzo, the multi-talented Brother Jalonzo, the maestro, the master musician, multi-talented maestro of Dub Tonic Crew out of Jamaica, as well as the Dub Matrix key engineer doing a live dub experience as well. Brother Jalonzo, Mr. Chief, a huge local artist in this region, the Reggae Redman, Mr. Chief, along with the Rising Buffalo Tribe, going to be throwing down some of the conscious hip-hop, dancehall, reggae music that Mr. Chief, that only Mr. Chief can bring and deliver. So big up to Mr. Chief for coming through with the Rising Buffalo Tribe. Big up Rising Buffalo Tribe, Brother Jonathan, Alex, Tony, and Michael Leslie coming through with the Rising Buffalo Tribe Vibration, playing with Blackamore as well as Mr. Chief. Big ups to Brother D-Rock. He's a huge DJ with the Small Axe sound system out of Portland, Oregon, and unfortunately just got his whole huge yard style box homemade sound system, the Small Axe sound, along with all of his DJ gear, along with all of his music collection, along with his turntables and everything, was just stolen. And his van, which was all in his van, was stolen from out in front of his house in Portland less than a week ago. And they just recovered the van a couple days ago, but it was completely emptied out. So everyone, we're all on the prowl looking for who may have gotten all the gear and equipment, and do what we can to support Brother D-Rock in rebuilding the Small Axe sound, which is a really unfortunate thing. But I mean, Portland's getting kind of grimy right now. So is the Bay. We just had another band, Mystic Roots Band, DJ Marco down in Chico, California, just got all their gear, their trailer full of all their gear got stolen. So yeah, it's getting kind of hot in the streets. These things are just getting worse and worse. And it's hard enough being a musician right now. It's hard enough being a DJ or a musician and now having all your equipment, your tools, your toolbox stolen, just so someone can make a little bit of money for a week or two it's just heartbreaking. So big ups to Brother D-Rock, DJ Colonel, King Toby, massive DJ, roots and culture selector, and Don from Eugene, Oregon, Brother King Toby. Bambu King going to be there as well. Of course, Select AD and DJ Carrie Moon going to be in the house. This is a one-day festival, people. It's cram-packed from beginning to end. And I also want to promote out there for anyone out here on the West Coast who may be thinking about coming up for the festival. Try to come up for the Friday. This is all happening on the 20th on the Saturday, but on the Friday, yours truly is going to be holding down a very special vibes with the pre-fest party over at the Backyard Community Food Court in Medford, Oregon, 812 North Riverside Ave in Medford, Oregon. Raz Ibamar of the Reggae Revival crew, the Jamnasia crew. Ibamar, big, huge artist out of Jamaica right now, doing some deep roots and culture reggae music. And this is his first appearance ever in the state of Oregon. And it's going to be held down a big DJ bashment format with Selecta AD, the Bambu King, on the ones and twos. And we got Ibamar headlining, and we also got Raz Attitude, huge artist, one of the biggest artists right now out of St. Croix, Virgin Island. It's going to be Raz Attitude from St. Croix, Ibamar from Jamaica, and a whole litany of special guests and friends, because we're going to have the family in the house. You know, word from the inside is that Perfect Gitamani going to be there to touch stage. Young Shanty probably be there. Black Hero, Turbulence, the Future, Blackamore probably likely going to be around. So I mean, we're going to have the whole family in the house. You know, we're going to probably touch a track or two and just hold the vibes with the family, a few collaborations, and but either way, I mean, I'm just so looking forward to the set from Ibamar, so looking forward to the set from Raz Attitude, and just so looking forward to being able to share a bunch of music with people in flesh and blood and real life, eyes to eyes, you know, together again. Family's been locked away for so long. It's so good to be able to feel free to come out again and share with the family. So that's what's going on this weekend, Friday with the pre-fest, Ibamar Raz Attitude, and Saturday with everybody. I just said veteran Sister Carol in the house. Turbulence, the Future, Perfect Gitamani, Blackamore, Sirius the Witness going to be there. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Sirius the Witness and his Boba Fire chant going to be there. And and he's probably going to be, I'm most likely, because he's going to be helping me lug these speakers around. I need that brother's help to lug these speakers around for the pre-fest on Friday. So, and I believe there is still room for vendors. Just saw a comment about, are there still room for vendors? The best way to get in touch with the organizational crew about volunteering or about vendor space or about food vendors is going to OregonReggaeFest.com. That's where you get tickets as well, is OregonReggaeFest.com. But go to OregonReggaeFest.com and just contact them through the email there with questions about vending and vending applications. So that's what's up. And we just doing the thing. 2 stages, workshops, food, camping, Ashland, Oregon, Jackson, Wellspring, hot pools, conscious word, sound, and power, roots and culture, reggae music, some of the finest of the hour. And we're all going to be there together. So if you're around, if you're in the region, if you're able to come out, I know there's people coming down from Seattle, coming down from Washington, coming down from Portland and Eugene, coming up from Santa Cruz, Oakland, San Francisco, Bay Area, so Northern California, Grass Valley, Trinity, Humboldt, Mendocino counties. Everyone's coming out. This is the premier West Coast Reggae Festival. This is the first year we're doing it here. And hopefully it'll grow into maybe a 2, maybe a 3-day event here in the future. But, you know, we doing what we can to keep conscious, authentic, genuine roots and culture reggae music alive and well on the Blessed Coast, which in more recent times has become more of the stress coast because of fires and heat and drought and just, you know, I mean, for those of you out there that know, I mean, conscious roots and culture reggae music with a message, the King's music, has always been an underdog genre, hasn't been a mainstream genre by any stretch of the imagination. A lot of mainstream music industry folks doing pop music and even doing hip hop and even doing R&B. A lot of people gravitate because so many of these artists personally have a love and appreciation for roots reggae music in their life. And so sometimes you see certain collaborations with certain popular trendy ones and all that, but it seems as though, you know, the early 2000s, you know, up until about 2010, 2012, there was a big peak and the interest in reggae music. And now it's starting to slide, and the younger generation isn't so enthralled with authentic, genuine, heartical roots and culture reggae music, because a lot of them, you know, I mean, trends are trends, and trends ebb and flow and rise and subside. But, you know, a lot of these young people, you know, they prioritize on a lot of things in their life and a lot of perspectives, and, you know, going hand in hand with this woke culture trends. And, you know, certain aspects of it we're totally down with, and certain aspects of it we see as a overcorrection in certain ways, or getting stuck and fixated on certain things that aren't necessarily the priority. And a lot of them see reggae music as very sort of religious, zealotous music, or homophobic music, and those type of things. And college kids like it. And then another aspect of the waning trend in appreciation or appreciate love for the heartical roots and culture, Rastafarian based roots and culture reggae music from the Caribbean and across the 196,940,000 square miles of the planet Earth at this point, is that you've had subgenres of reggae music develop in the last 10, 15, even 20 years. And now we have a whole subgenre of reggae music in America, which is what they call Cali roots, or, you know, Brogay, or even California, or I mean, Hawaii roots, or Jawaiian reggae. Jawaiian reggae is more authentic Hawaiian, you know, Hawaiian reggae music, but there's sort of a spread of Cali roots music to Hawaii and a connection there. So you have a lot of Hawaiian reggae bands, along with a lot of Cali reggae bands, who have pretty much perpetuated a whole subgenre of reggae music, which has bloomed and blossomed into something exceptionally successful in the musical marketplace. And as you know, the viewer just said, as the family just said, you know, college kids like it. And we know that there's a lot of college kids that like the rootical thing from the Caribbean, but there's a lot of college kids and high school kids, that particularly white college kids and white high school kids, who are gravitating more towards, like when we were coming up, it was, you know, the handful of veteran reggae bands that were traveling around, veteran Jamaican and even UK reggae bands, Steel Pulse, Israel Vibration, Burning Spear, Joseph Hill and Culture, even Ika Mouse and Barrington Levy, the ones that were touring when we were coming up. And that young white kids like myself from the suburbs, or from the cities, or from, you know, even out in the Midwest and stuff, mountain towns, college towns and mountain towns, were coming up, going to these veteran reggae artists. And through becoming inspired with that, you started seeing the development of, you know, punk bands moving more towards reggae, or punk bands moving more towards ska, and developing sort of an American trending reggae market in and of themselves. And it's now grown into something exceptionally big. And we applaud these artists and their success, but we don't want anyone to get it twisted and mixed up as to what seeds were planted, what fertile soil was there to be nurtured to develop these people's interest in these specific genres that were never mainstream genres and were never pursued to make exceptional wages or exceptional amounts of money. But right about now, what I see personally, as someone who's been involved in the genre for over 20 years, is the fact that a lot of the artists who are the most exceptional and the most genuine and the most rooted in the culture are getting the least amount of bly, or the least amount of credit or recognition or financial economic reciprocity for their art. And that's a trend that we really don't want to see continue. We want to see people have an affinity and appreciate love for those who are genuinely of the culture, and not just into the culture and into mimicking or repping the culture, but are emanating the evolution of the culture. We want to see those people survive. We don't want to see those artists martyrs for their love of Rastafari and their love of Black culture and their love of inspirational, motivational message music that generates a sense of Kujichagulia and self-determination and self-worth and love and appreciation and revolution and spiritual resistance towards the Eurocentric standards and code of ethics, as it were, of the modern era. We want to see revolution music continue without having to be so watered down and pasteurized that it becomes something other than what it actually is at its essence. So yes, Baba, really just appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share with you about the big pre-fest DJ Bashment at the backyard community food court in Medford on Friday the 19th with Ibamar and Raz Attitude and friends, as well as this huge lineup at the premier West Coast Reggae Fest, the Oregon Reggae Fest, sponsored by LRG, and big ups to Chalice Row, big ups to Biggs, and big ups to all the sponsors. And yes, I King, blessed love. So that's gonna be, that's gonna be my pitch. That's the only real pitch for the festivals that I'm involved in that are coming up. And I would suggest that everyone out there subscribe to Reggae Festival Magazine on Instagram. I'm pretty sure they have a Facebook page as well, or just go to Reggae Festival Magazine on, I believe, reggaefestival.com or reggaefestivalmag.com, or it might be reggaefestivalmagazine.com. Google it, it'll come up. But that's the catalog that showcases basically all the festivals that are happening through the country, really around the world. Really, I mean, you can find out about festivals going on in Europe, festivals going on in Africa, South America, festivals going on all through the country. So you can look up what festivals are going on in New York, or down in Georgia, or down in Florida, or in the Midwest, or in California, or wherever you may be. Because now it's more important than ever to support the artists by going to see them. Because we've spoken on this channel, we've spoken on Baba TV, a number of times before, very briefly, about how streaming services are pretty much providing all the nails and the hammer for the coffin of the music industry. Not just reggae music, but the whole music industry in general is being kneecapped, and people's artistic livelihoods are being completely kneecapped by streaming services such as Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, and the like. And we as the listening public, we as the purchasing public, are getting far too comfortable in convenient presentation of other people's art at a drastically diminished reciprocal return to the artist. And that's what's happening. I mean, it would be better. And I mean, we don't really have excuses. You don't have to buy a whole album. If you only have 2 or 3 songs on the album you like, then you can go to iTunes or you can go to Amazon. I don't really trust either of these corporations, and I don't really want to suggest you support them. I think buying a hard CD or a hard vinyl from the label itself, whether it be VP or whether it be I-Grade Records or whether it be from Baco Records or wherever it's from, I think buying hard copies are the most important way to support an artist, especially if you're buying it from the distributor of that artist's catalog or production. I think that's the best way to support them. But at this point, there's a lot of artists who are just releasing their music as digital files, as digital media, whether it be on iTunes, whether it be on Amazon, or even like with Bambu Station, you can go to houseofbamboo.com and you can purchase all their albums directly from them. You can buy digital copies of all of their albums, whether it be MP3s or WAV files or completely lossless files, FLAC files. You can get them directly from them, and 100% of the money goes to them, with cutting out the middleman. And if you just want 2 or 3 tracks, if you buy 3 songs off of an album that you like on iTunes, that's financially rewarding the artist more than listening to it 100 or even 1,000 times on Spotify. So these are the things we need to consider doing, because very, very soon there will be no incentive for any of these artists to keep pursuing their music, to keep pursuing their art and their craft, if there's no way that it can even pay for the time it takes or the energy it takes to produce it. So that being the case, I really, really would suggest and implore people out there to go out of your way, go more around the block. Don't just go A to B and just stream things or listening to them on YouTube, which isn't doing anything for the artist. Purchase the music you want to support. You got to pay for the things you want to see grow and starve the things that got to go. And that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. So that being the case, Baba, I'm done pitching the Oregon Reggae Festival. We've let them know who's going to be there. We let them know all the things that are going to be there. Once again, if you have any questions about tickets, any questions about vending, any questions about food, being a food vendor, food cart, or anything, food presentation, camping, or anything, all you got to do is go to OregonReggaeFest.com. There's an email there, and you can email any questions you have, and they'll be responded to very quickly. And yeah, this is all coming up this weekend, and I'm so excited, and I'm more than thrilled about Ibamar and Ra's Attitude collaborating with the Bambu King on a big DJ bashment over there at Rafai Giussiano's Cookhouse at the Backyard Community Food Court. And yeah, so I didn't mention Rafija as well. Rafija's going to be in the house. He's going to be over there holding vibes, holding court at the pre-fest DJ bashment. And he's going to be cooking his Rafai Giussiano Cookhouse Caribbean food at the Oregon Reggae Fest as well. And he's going to be doing a set. I'm going to be collaborating with him on doing a big DJ set at the Oregon Reggae Fest. Rafai Giussiano is a huge MC, hip hop, dance hall, roots, lyricist, singer, sing-jay, and MC who's been doing it forever, his whole life through. He's a STEAM member of the Starlion family out of St. Thomas, Virgin Island, partner with some of the finest in the business. Him, Sage Anaya, Icarus, Nyora, Pressure Bus Pipe. Pretty much, I like to describe them as the conscious Wu-Tang family of the Virgin Islands. And so Rafai Giussiano right there, and he's always kicking it. He's always so real and fiery with the thing, and I'm so excited to be able to participate with Rafai Giussiano and Sirius the Witness as well, with the huge set coming up at the Oregon Reggae Fest. And I mean, it's almost too much to remember. So yeah, OregonReggaeFest.com. All the info's there. Get all your questions answered there. Big ups and massive respect. And remember, support these artists when they come to your town, because that's the way to get money in their hands. If you're going to buy the album, buy whatever album they have in their hands, so the money goes to them. Pay for a ticket at the show that they're putting on at a bar or at a club or at a stadium or wherever it is when they come someplace near you, or you're going out of your way to go see them. It's the best way to support artists now of any kind, is by actually going to their shows and getting merch from them. It's just the way it is now. I wish there was a better way to get this money to them and to keep them doing what they do, what we appreciate they do. But that's the best way I can think of at the moment.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now we want to celebrate the Earth Day of Midnight. Talk a little bit about, we don't want to forget about midnight. This is a little segue, but it's all in it together.
It's all in it together. Well, we just on the 13th, we just had Brother Vaughn Benjamin, the Akebeka, the lead singer, founder of Midnight, along with his brother Ronnie Benjamin Jr., one of the most prolific reggae artists of all time, before beginning and without ending. Time was not counted from daylight, but from midnight. And the Akebeka is really an oath of recognition towards the great black, or the triple darkness of the universe, or the dark energy of the universe, the esteemed womb of which all manifestation of creation emanates and holds everything within the circumference of the core center of itself. And that is Amen, or the great black. And just as there is a black center or pocket in the center of your heart, of which everything is in the circumference of, in your microcosm, as is the creator. And he, the Akebeka, Vaughn Benjamin, is an emanation and a personification of the essence of the meaning of these oaths. So we pay all homage to the Honorable Vaughn Benjamin, and we never forget him, and we recall how he made his ascension to the realm of the Egun on August 4th, 2019. And he gave us so much. He gave us so much that we really could live 3 or 4 lifetimes studying the archive and the catalog of the works that he left behind in a short 50, I believe it was 51? Is it 51, or it was 50 when he made his ascension and transcended, so I mean, and over 84 plus albums. I believe it's up to like 86 or 87 now. I know that Tippy with iGrade Records has a whole nother, over a handful that he's working on. I know that Zion High Production has a couple that he's working on. So there's a lot of work still out there. He's had a number of posthumous albums come out since he transcended, and there's a whole lot, a whole grip, probably a dozen more albums out there being worked on by different collaborators and producers and musicians that he's worked with. So we just fondly recall and reflect upon the timeless, infinite works of Vaughn Benjamin, because when you deal with a Vaughn Benjamin, you don't deal with the dash between the date he was born and the date he transcended. You don't deal with the dash because you deal with the infinite. You deal with an artist whose music is so timeless and so profound and so enigmatic and esoteric that you will pull new meaning from just about every line of every song from every album every time you listen to it. I mean, I'm listening to albums that, Baba, you and me have been listening to for over 20 years, and I'm hearing new things in the lyrics that are more relevant to the circumstances of today now than they even were when he made the songs.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a special kind of person. It takes a special kind of entity to be able to manifest works like that are so timeless, that we're culling deeper and richer reward with every rotation of the disc that we hear. And we just celebrated his mighty Earth Strong and Solar Return, as though he never left, because he returns every time we hear that voice, that unmistakable voice. Every time we hear those hymns or those breathing scrolls, those ancient maps emanated from the heart and mind of someone who devoted his life to digging deeper and enriching the consciousness of his people and beyond. I mean, there's so many people who have been benefited from just shedding their former self and radiating in the bask and glow of the light, or the black light of the essence of the Akebeka. And people are becoming richer and wiser and more conscious and upright people each and every day across the planet, with each and every play of this man's incredible work. So we appreciate Vaughn Benjamin. We will never forget Vaughn Benjamin. He is one of the wisest and greatest teachers, not just in reggae music, not just in the fraternity of Rastafari, but of all time. In all time, he's one of the greats, and he already is revered, right up there next to Robert Nesta Marley or Burhain Selassie, as a saint or a patron saint of reggae music, a conscious prophet that used reggae music as the avenue by which to get a message of deeper human consciousness to the people. That black consciousness, that triple darkness of the universe type of consciousness, so that those of us who are still wrestling with our loyalties to, getting caught up in complexion or direction, or my skin is my sin, or my culture is my cage. It's a lot of people are starting to evolve in a way, particularly the sons and daughters of the slave master, who have been thoroughly activated by the conscious messages of a Vaughn Benjamin, as well as many others. But Vaughn especially has penetrated a lot of what the shell of a lot of these people who weren't allowing their conscience to really reflect on the infinite quality of Black liberation theology and the true original teachers of every single culture of the planet. I mean, if it wasn't for the indigenous Black Africans, who the archetype, the blueprint, the Kaaba stone, they're destroying the blueprint so no one can see who is the original and who is the copy. Well, Vaughn Benjamin revealed to those who were unwilling to see who was the original and who was the copy, who the original was. So no mistake could be made. So no hieroglyph could be painted over. So no history or language could be reinterpreted, misinterpreted. If it wasn't for the ancient Kemites, if it wasn't for the ancient Moors, if it wasn't for the ancient Sumerians, there would be no Buddhism. There would be no Hinduism. There would be no Christianity or Judaism or Yorubaism. Tribe of Merub still in Kenya. Hebrew alphabet is called Meruba. You see, it wouldn't be no Islam if it wasn't for the ancient, deep richness of that Black African culture and that Black African mama and father. Who is the original man? The original man is the Asiatic Black man and woman of the planet Earth. Cream of the planet Earth. This is what Vaughn Benjamin revealed to us through his livity and through his word, sound, and power. And without getting long-winded about what many of you, most of you already know and already have a thorough knowledge of through listening to the wisdom of this man, the true revealer of much of the Akashic record, I'd like to believe and come to know that the Akashic record holds great award and accreditation for the one who was called the Akabeka, or Vaughn Benjamin of Midnight. Because even though he's not walking the earth today in the physical form, where his works will forever be permeating, so is that consciousness, which I think irradiated a far stronger current than even that physical vessel or physical form we call human body. It's almost like that spirit was so strong that it burnt the body out. Like that body couldn't hold the radiating force of what the energy he was emanating. Actually, the body just couldn't keep up with the essence of the spirit. So spirit is strong, but the flesh is weak. And we're just lucky that we were able to have him for the time we were able to have him, sharing his speak and message and thoughts and meditations. So that'll be my honor and reverence to the one Vaughn Benjamin, the Akabeka, for all that he has enriched in my life, in your life, Baba, and many of you out there. And yeah, Hotepu, Akabeka.
Well, I think that was, I couldn't have said it better. I couldn't even say half of that. But this promotional video, I think that this what has been said so far pretty much sums up everything. If you didn't have anything else that you wanted to add, I'm not here to sling any mud on anybody or bring any negative vibrations. However, I would like to say that I would like to see in the award show that went on with and we've already dealt with this with the Reggae Awards, and we know that we can't really go by this, just like the Grammys or anything else. We can't really go by, what people set up as who's who, and without throwing any negative shade. That's why I always say on Baba TV to my people, it's imperative that you support the Black artists that are speaking to us. See, because an award is nice, but I think when Black Uhuru or one of the groups got an award back in the days, they used it as a door stopper, because you seek validation from people. That's not what we do this for, and they should not be the yardstick, meaning the award people and so forth. And I would like to see more categories on it, because you have American reggae, you have different forms of dance hall, and then you have the mothers and fathers of it all, the original. And I think that would help a lot if we would categorize it more. You say, well, Baba, we are all one. Well, I'm noticing now that a lot of the white reggae groups were being separated now. You have the white events, Rasta events, reggae events on one side. And then here it's almost like a competition thing with the original black artists. And I hope that it's not a case of what Vaughn said. We're trying to blurt out the original so we can't tell the difference between the copy and the original, because Vaughn said that there is an original and there is a copy. So it's important for all of us to always give reverence to the ones who made you what you are, and you learned from. You didn't get it from yourself, you got it from the original architect. So I'm not dealing with no hatred or anything like that. I'm not going, I'm not poisoned with that. However, justice demands that we do better. And if we're segregated, then the teaching that you teach, the one love teaching, doesn't teach that, right? It teaches that we are all one, but I don't see that in practice. In other words, don't sit back and watch black people practice all that, and then you sitting up there practicing white nationalism with because this is what I see with all this whiteness and white groups. And black people, the originators, opening up for you. That's not very respectful. I just can't accept that. That's not very, you have to respect the people that you claim you came up under and were influenced by. Don't wait until you get there. And then when you get there, we forget so easily the people, and then we cut our dreads and we do all kind of other things because we realize that, hey, maybe I shouldn't have, the costume that I'm wearing was just that. Think about these things. I'm speaking to the white artists now. Before you get involved and adopt things, think about some of this before you get out, because it makes you look untrue at the end of the day. I'm not throwing no negative shade, but we have to deal with these things. The black artists that are sweeping floors and have been playing reggae, for so long, we should be supporting them. Black people, don't let the white crowds and the enormous, because this is who is supporting reggae now. Don't let them support, because whoever pays, now the black artists have to tailor the message. And they say, oh, we're not speaking to us. You're not speaking to our, because we need to support. Don't act like that's not our music. I have people come to me and say, you listen to Reggae Bible? Are you Jamaican? No, why I gotta be Jamaican? I'm not Jamaican, and neither are they. They're Africans. They're African. So stop dividing us up. Stop trying to act like we are different people. And then here come people right in the middle of all this that are benefiting. I have to take some responsibility for that. We have to take some responsibility for that. And while Del Jones said that they are culture bandits, he also said we can't complain if we don't hold the damn fort down. So we need black people supporting these artists. And I just wanted to say, I didn't want to be ugly, but the ugly truth is that we don't support the way we should. There's a lot of hypocrisy in this so-called one love posturing, when we got this group on that side, that group on that side. Come on, that's contradictory to what you say you believe. True. So, and we do need more categories I believe, on the awards, because you got dance hall. All dance hall is not ratchet. You got conscious dance hall. Come on, we got Cableton, Sizzler, and so forth with a Perfect, Gideon. We have several. So we need more. Then you have American Roots Reggae, John Brown's Body. Shout out to Kevin Kinsella. You have people who respect the roots reggae music. And, I think that there should be an American category. And whether you think that, this last awards, whether any of them were classic original roots, and, they probably weren't. But the point I'm making is that there should be more categories. We should leave the mother and the father should have a special category. You save the best for last. You don't put the best first. You put the best. We save the grand finale. We save the best for last, and I think that could would help with some of this. But I'm not hating. Shout out to everybody who got a shout out. Shout out to Soldier. Shout out to everyone. I know them too, by the way. And shout out to everyone who supports. But we need the supports, and they know what original authentic roots and reggae is. And it's sometimes just a dirty business when money gets involved. I've been saying it, and I'm going to continue to say it. I think someone had said that the elders wanted Bob to stop playing the reggae music. And most of the elder rosters that I've talked to really can't stand it, because they know what happens when the money gets involved in it.
True. Yeah, it's I'm really glad you opened this door up, because this is a conversation that you and me have been having for a while, and we've been meaning to have with the family, and it kind of before the whole Grammy situation, and what you expressed, bro. I mean, it's right on point. It's right on point, and it's coming from a place of love. A lot of people, what I've heard in the wake of this last Grammy award scenario, is there's sort of it was fairly divisive, because there's a lot of people who feel that the other nominees really got slighted from having a chance to win the one Grammy award that's allotted to Caribbean people. I mean, there's literally one genre of music that is likely to go to people from the Caribbean. And now, I mean, and it has, in the Grammys in particular, has a legacy of going to pretty much the Marleys consistently. You got to be a son of Bob Marley if you're going to get it, or even be eligible. But then, a couple years ago, Sting won it. Sting and Shaggy won it. You can't give you can't give the best reggae album to Sting all the time. And this last year, Soulja won it. And as you said, we know Soulja. We know these are people who have been working their whole adult lives tirelessly as musicians in a genre that doesn't necessarily fiscally reward people substantially. I mean, no one embarks on a path wherever you're from. No one embarks on a path of playing reggae music with the ambition of getting rich. They really, they would all like to get rich from doing what they love, but the expectation is really low. And at the time Soulja started, they were one of 3 or 4 white American reggae artists even doing it. And, and there was no Cali roots genre. There was no American reggae genre to really speak of. They were more of a novelty or a exception to the rule than something that is a burgeoning, blooming, blossoming subgenre of reggae music. And I did want to take an opportunity to share with you. I'm going to keep going, but I just want to let you know that after I do my thoughts about it, like along with what Baba just stated, right on the point, is I got a list of albums, roots reggae albums that came out the year that those 5 albums were nominated. Those 5 albums that were nominated for the best reggae album. I got over 30 albums that came out that year that none were nominated, that I would say are exceptional roots reggae albums that aren't getting any shine on the Billboard Awards, aren't getting any shine on the Grammys, aren't even getting much of a shine at the local music or reggae awards, whether in Jamaica or the Caribbean or in DC or New York or Florida. They're not getting the recognition that they certainly deserve. And I would like to share some of those with you guys. So, when you watch this video back, we can timestamp it down in the comments so you can write it down, some of these albums to go check out. And you can go check them out on, you can go check them out on YouTube and see which ones you want to buy, which is what I would suggest. Or just go give it a try, roll the dice. I'll tell you some of my favorites. But I wanted to share with you because I believe that the Grammys and the Billboard Music Awards and whatever, Rolling Stone, anything that has a 2-bit award token award for reggae music is such a diminished scope. It's such a diminished view of the world of reggae music. And because there's so much different subgenres and even genres of music that are now lumped into being called, just categorized reggae under the umbrella of reggae. Like Baba said, you're right and exact. There needs to be 6 different awards for Caribbean music. It's not all reggae music. Like there's roots reggae music, which let me see. The 5 nominees of the 2021 Grammy Award show were Gramps Morgan with Positive Vibration, Gramps Morgan of Born Good Heritage, which was actually a crossover, a reggae country crossover. And we know that country music has its roots from Black music and Black people doing blues and R&B. The origins of R&B are what emanated country music. So we know that it's all one and the same. A lot of people say reggae, roots reggae, is Jamaican country music. So it's not that much of a stretch or a reach to see, but the Positive Vibration album that Gramps Morgan was nominated for was a country music, reggae music crossover album. Then Spice was in there. A lot of people were very disappointed that Spice, who's a dancehall artist, and she is an exceptionally talented entertainer, exceptionally talented performer and lyricist. I can't say that I'm a big fan of her style. I personally think that the content and subject matter of her music is more going down the line of what sells, what messengers see. Let's say sex sell, but me not buy that. Well, sex sell, and a lot of people buy it. And that's what there's a lot of conscious artists out here that are exceptionally conscious, roots reggae artists that are now moving more towards dancehall and sexualized dancehall because that's what's selling records. And out of desperation for succeeding and gaining notoriety and recognition and becoming popular and becoming a superstar, it seems as though sex is still selling. So Spice is an incredible performer, but an incredible entertainer, and has a stage show that is second to none in the world of dancehall music right now. And I'll be the first to admit that. But I have to remind us that this is what the youth are looking at. This is what the youth are building their ideal personas with, their egos, their super egos, their id personalities, their identities are being crafted by what they're ingesting through music and video, and they are mimicking that which they see on the TV. And when they see women in scantily clad outfits, leotards, shaking it fast, and men and women in the dance hall, dry humping each other and daggering each other, calling it dancing.
What?
We can't pretend that we don't have a responsibility as artists. We can't pretend that, oh, I ain't nobody's hero. I don't have to be your kid's hero. Your kids aren't supposed to be looking to me in imitating me. I'm just an artist. I'm just selling music. I'm just a musician. We've used those excuses for too long. They're pathetic now. Who do you think the children are looking to? Snore Biden? Kamala Harris? You think they're looking at Pelosi as someone to admire? You think they're looking at the MPs of Jamaica and the MPs of Trinidad and Antigua? You think they're looking at these foolish politicians, or the Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates of the world, and admiring? They're admiring their wealth. They're admiring their accumulation of power and notoriety. They admire that, but they ain't looking to these people to emulate and imitate, except their level of success, which ultimately is equated with robbing and cheating people, especially the politicians, especially the world leaders. And through its music and celebrities within entertainment that they look to and admire and try to emulate. That's who the kids are looking at. They're looking at actors, they're looking at singers, they're looking at musicians, and that's who they're trying to imitate. So we can't pass the buck and cop out and scapegoat it and say, oh, I'm not here to be your kid's hero. I'm here to make some money, and sex sells. Like this is important for us to consider. So, but all that being said, I mean, one of my favorite MCs in the game right now is Shensia. Shensia is one of the best lyricists in dancehall and reggae music out of Jamaica today, of any gender. I mean, she make them men go back to the lab and try to hone their skill because she's such a beast. She's so good. Do I really have an affinity for her subject? And she's beautiful. She's sexy. She's beautiful. She's easy on the eyes, and she ain't got no shame in showing it off. But when you listen to the content of what most of them are trying to sing about, and I'm not trying to target out one or two, it's many, many, many. This is a trend. This isn't to pin the tail on one or two women, or I mean, Ja Vinci and Ioctane are in there too. Incredibly talented. Sing some of the finest conscious music going with the most heartfelt delivery you can even hear. But what are they focusing on now with their subject matter that they're trying to get to sell? And it's pop, sexualized dancehall. And there's a place and room for that, and I understand the dynamic. But we have a responsibility as artists, we have a responsibility as influencers to consider the impression we're making on young people. Because we're planting the seeds that are going to grow into either grapes of wrath or the fruits of tomorrow. So Spice, with her album 10, was nominated. A lot of people thought Spice should have won it because she has so many fans and such a loyal listening base. But her album is completely dancehall. mostly slack dancehall, mostly sexualized slack dancehall, you know? And that is what a lot of people thought should have won Reggae Album of the Year. Sean Paul with another fully dancehall album, Live and Livin', or Live and Livin'. I don't know if it's Live and Livin' or Live and Livin', same word. But Sean Paul with his dancehall and hip hop crossover album is in there for Reggae Grammy of the Year. Itana, who's like the R&B, sort of American R&B style Jamaican songstress who sings a little bit of everything. And this album, Pamoja, is primarily Afrobeats. You know, is based primarily with the modern crossover dancehall Afrobeat sound, which is an amalgam of pop and R&B pop and hip hop and dancehall and Nigerian and Ghanaian traditional music and EDM. So it's a hybrid that's been born in Africa, primarily in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, and as well as Ghana, and is now spreading all over Africa, and now spreading across the world, and is now influencing all of the genres that originally influenced the development of Afrobeats music in Africa. Because they were influenced by hip hop, by 90s R&B, by dancehall, and then developed Afrobeats, which is now that 5-beat pattern, and that Afrobeats pattern is now what you hear permeating through pop in America, through R&B in America, through hip hop in America, as well as dancehall in the Caribbean. And everyone wants to be Busy Signal, which is great because Busy Signal's a beast. But like, if you listen to a lot of Busy Signal's new stuff, it's a very Afrobeats production. You listen to a lot of Vegas's new stuff, it's Afrobeats production. Esco Levi, I-Octane, Afrobeat style production. So you and then same with Burna Boy and Stone Boy and Wizkid and Mr. Easy out of the Afrobeats artists do a lot of crossovers with dancehall artists, because dancehall is one of the biggest influences in reggae music, one of the biggest influences in the development of Afrobeats music. So Itana's album, Pamoja, is like an Afrobeats, R&B, hip hop, reggae crossover album. And then that leaves the fifth album that was nominated, which is Beauty in the Silence. Beauty in the Silence by Soja, acronym for Soldiers of Jah Army. They go by Soja now. And it's their first album that they actually had a lot of other Cali roots bands and American reggae bands and Hawaiian reggae bands, The Green and Iration and Slightly Stupid and Fortunate Youth and Revolution, Stick Figure, Tribal Seeds. I don't remember exactly how many of them were involved, but it's the first Soja album ever to have an exceptional amount of collaboration songs on it. Usually Soja albums are Soja songs, you know, but this album had a lot of those other bands. Now, what isn't said about the Grammys, once again, we know we don't worship Grammy. I mean, we love grandma, we love granny, but we don't worship Grammy, because it's such a diminished scope into the world of reggae music. And as Baba so eloquently pointed out, it needs to be broken down into at least 3, probably more like 5 different awards. There needs to be a dancehall award. There needs to be a reggae award that can be pretty much go to Caribbean people. Doesn't have to go to Jamaicans, but Jamaicans, Virgin Islands, Antigua, Trinidad, Tobago, Caribbean people deserve the best reggae album. And I think without a doubt, the best reggae music being made is still, always has been, and is still from people from the Caribbean. It's not too much of a head scratcher, but it needs to be a reggae award. It needs to be a dancehall award. There needs to be a crossover award, and there needs to be a world reggae award. And that world reggae award, you know, can be allotted for everyone not from the Caribbean. All the American artists, all the Canadian artists, all the Hawaiian artists, all the South Polynesian, Australia and New Zealand, Israel Star, Troy Kingi, Catch a Fire, House of Shem, the Black Seeds, African reggae artists, South American reggae artists like Gondwana, and Costa Rica with Cultural Profetica, and Nati Roots out of Brazil, you know, Ponte Equilibrio, Like all these bands are incredible roots reggae bands and even dancehall reggae crossover bands from across the world. European artists, steppers reggae. You can have all the steppers and the nouveau club reggae out of the UK and France and Spain and Italy. You know, like I'd like to see all of them competing for a Grammy. You know, that you can feel good about isn't going to a Caribbean reggae band because it's a world reggae award. And maybe it would be foolish, it probably is naive and foolish to have an expectation that the Grammy would give any more bly to reggae music as a genre than they have or than they will. They're not going to give any more than one award. And a couple of years ago, it was the second runner-up, Coffee, won the Reggae Award for an EP, which isn't even a full-length album of mostly singles that she had already released years before. And she won the Best Reggae Album for her EP. And the second place was Stonebwoy with his Afrobeats album, which isn't even a reggae album, which is an Afrobeats album. So the world music category needs to expand, as well as the reggae music category needs to expand, because it has evolved and it has spread out and it has gone far beyond just umbrellaing everything as reggae when it's definitively not reggae. I mean, dancehall is definitively not reggae, and Afrobeats is definitively not reggae, and Beauty in the Silence is definitively not reggae. It's a crossover reggae album, just like Gramps Morgan album is a crossover reggae album, just like Etana's album is a crossover reggae album. So if the only 5 albums nominated aren't even genuinely, heartically roots reggae albums, and once again, we do make a differentiation, like Baba said, I mean, Baba just covered it all, is reggae music is not Rastafari. Reggae music is a Caribbean cultural expression that Rastafari used as a vehicle to spread the message and the liberty of Rastafari across the planet. And in the hearts and minds of the people who most resonate with it, which are the local people of the Caribbean. So it's when Bob Marley and Bunny Wailer and Peter Tosh were trying to go big, and Chris Blackwell was trying to paint them up as a Jamaican rock band at the dawning of their international explosion, the Nyabingi Elders, when they would go see the Nyabingi Elders, they said, you need to stay away from that because the music industry is dirty and grimy, and it's all about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and it will corrupt you before you transcend it, before you evolve it into something that can benefit people. It will corrupt you. So they tried to talk them out. They tried to talk them out of staying, and they say, you want Rastafari music? Nyabingi or Rastafari music. That's the only Rastafari music. All them reggae things. And the same argument is happening right now, where there's a lot of young artists, and I'm not going to blame anyone or say even the accusations hold as much water as some people, believers, accredit them. But there's a lot of very popular artists out here who are singing Rastafarian contemporary, what I call new wave reggae, which is sort of a kind of a crossover type of reggae where they're taking reggae and dancehall and hip hop and hybriding it together. And you have the Proteges and the Jesse Royals and the Dre Islands and the Mortimers and the Damian Marleys and the Stephen Marleys, all doing Kabaka Pyramid, all doing great music and great inspired music with a firm message rooted in Rastafari. But there's people out there saying, more traditionalists, more fundamentalists who say, oh, you're commercializing Rasta with this. You're commercializing Rasta with this. You're using Rasta to dress up your music as something to make it a more sellable. You're playing two sides and things like that. I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, I can look at certain things and say, well, that might have a little bit, you might want to put more thought into that or thought into that. But I'm a roots man in the sense of I love traditional roots reggae music. I love live instrumentation, horns, one drop, minor key, deep, rich music. I love it if it's coming from Jamaica. I love it if it's coming from St. Croix, St. Thomas, Guyana, Trinidad, Tobago, Antigua. I love it if it's coming from Africa or Europe or America. I love that roots thing, you know. But I have an affinity and appreciation for the fact that the music evolves. It must evolve. It must change. We don't need any more artists to relick some old Studio One rhythm for the 100th time, or some old Channel One rhythm for the 100th time, Treasure Isle rhythm for the 100th time, and remake Police and Helicopter for the 50th time. We need the inspired production of the creative minds of the youth today that are sacrificing probably a lot of money, time, and energy into investing in reggae music and dancehall music, period, and keeping the tradition evolving in the way that Protege and Chronix and Kabaka Pyramid and Ibamar and all of the reggae revivalists and Romaine Virgo and all of them do it. It doesn't mean that they won't do roots reggae when something worthwhile comes along, and it doesn't mean that they don't do it well. It doesn't mean that Taurus Riley can't do roots reggae, but he does great roots reggae and rub-a-dub and dancehall and Afro beats and crossover. So does Jadon Blackamore, you know, one of the finest in the business, who's been an eclectic purveyor of all sorts of black cultural musical expression, whether it's hip hop with Noble Society and Dead Prez and Afu Ra and the Gangstar Crew and all of his Brooklyn family that he has been working with forever, whether it's all of his work with Luster Kings Productions and Andrew Moon Bain, the Digital Ancient, and Zion I Kings, the finest roots and culture reggae production in the business. Or whether it's with, Dubstyle Records over there in Brooklyn, Dubstyle with their deep, regenerated, refixed dance hall vibrations. Or whether it's with Young Trip out of California right now. Blackamore and Young Trip about to release a huge production with it's sort of a roots pop dance hall hip hop hybrid situation that is the likes you've never heard before. And go check Bill Bridges and Number One and Champ Pain. These are all singles that are coming off this album that are already released that I would suggest you go check out if you want to hear some of the new sounds of the Caribbean and what is totally worth a listen. Some of the finest in the business. Young Trip, Blackamore. Keep an eye out. The album isn't released yet, but some of those singles are out. Bill Bridges, Number One, Champ Pain, fire. And we support all these artists for doing it in their own different way, because even these artists are feeling the pinch of young people becoming more and more disinterested in the roots reggae sound because of whatever media campaigns or personal feelings they have about what reggae music means and stands for and represents to their perspective, and how it may not be their cup of tea. And but it doesn't mean that their perspective is accurate completely. But it also doesn't mean that in order to be a very inspired Caribbean musician, you have to play nothing but fundamental roots reggae music. You know, that's the beauty about musicians who listen to everything and play a little bit of everything, is you're getting all sorts of stuff. So that being the case, Baba, I did want to go over this list of artists. I'm trying to think, is there any more I need to say about oh yeah, before we get into this, there is something more I need to say about the whole Grammy situation and people feeling a kind of way. David Rodigan, brethren just mentioned David Rodigan. Yeah, David Rodigan was just busting Number One. He was just playing Number One on his BBC radio show, and Ram Jam, brother Ram Jam, Rodders, culture DJ David Rodigan, one of the biggest veterans out of the UK, and holding it firm and just was busting #1 by Blackamore and Young Trip, and was saying it's going to be the biggest hit of the summer. So don't sleep on #1 by Blackamore. So what I would be remiss if I didn't touch on, and I'm glad you mentioned it, Baba, because it is up to us. You know, it wouldn't be so easy to criticize the reggae, the Cali roots, brogue, reggae scene, which is like, you know, American white American skaters and surfers and would-be hippies or Rastas, you know, playing a, you know, their version of reggae music, their interpretation of what has become a formulaic version of reggae music that a lot of the young white people, who are the people who are spending the majority of money with reggae music, I hate to say it, but it's accurate. The people who are spending the most money with the genre reggae are white people from Europe or America. And now the American money mostly is being dumped into the hands of the subgenre of Cali roots or American roots reggae, because they have more of a loyalty to it, because they have more of an affinity to it, they have more of a relatability to it. They can identify with the very broad stroke, sort of less deeply culturally invested in the Rastafarian identity version of reggae music that's delivered in Cali roots. They can relate to it more. They can understand the lyrics. It's not so much in patois. They can understand the lyrics more. And they have, and we would be foolish and naive and delusional to pretend that there isn't more of an affinity to seeing someone who resembles yourself do the twist or do the step or do the thing, even if it's a watered down version of the thing, even if it's a diminished version of the genre. Seeing someone who resembles you do it to some quality is more likable to one. And if that wasn't the case, then it wouldn't have been the case with Elvis. It wouldn't have been the case with the Beatles. It wouldn't have been the case with the Rolling Stones. It wouldn't have been the case with Led Zeppelin. It wouldn't have been the case with Eminem. I'm not saying any of these people are untalented. I'm not saying that they weren't listening and influenced by by the best musicians doing the genres they were doing. We know who Eminem was influenced by, and who he studied to become skilled and talented in what he did. We know who the Beatles were listening to. We know who Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin were listening to, and who Elvis was listening to. So we understand, you know, honor thy mother and thy father, so thy days may be long in the land in which the Lord God giveth you. And we would hope that these musicians that are doing reggae music now out of Hawaii and America and Europe and Canada remembers to credit. And I'm not just saying hail up Bob Marley and Peter Tosh. I'm not just saying mention Buju once or twice, or Anthony B once or twice. I'm glad you do. I certainly am glad you're mentioning Anthony B and Buju Banton and Sizzla Kalonji, one of the most influential artists ever. King Shango and Capleton, whom we wish a very speedy recovery from the accident he was just in. These are the foundation. These are the pioneers. These are the legends. Not just Bob Marley, Winston Rodney, Burning Spear, Jimmy Cliff, Byron Lee, Jacob Miller, Joseph Hill. So very many. Steel Pulse, another one of the most influential reggae bands of all time. Some people say the precursor to a Midnight is a Steel Pulse. Not necessarily sonically in the sound. I would say some of the biggest influences for Midnight sonically was the Twinkle Brothers, was Yaba U, was the Wailing Souls, you know. But I think more on a metaphysical level and a spiritual vibrational level, and the frequency of the message that they were delivering and what they were trying to strike in the hearts of the lost and found tribe of Shabazz, the lost and found prodigal sons and daughters of the Most High here in the West, was was influenced by Steel Pulse, because they were one of the most militant and revolutionary reggae bands of all time, and they were from the UK. So giving credit where credit is due, and knowing and not letting these headliners and these foundational pioneers open for you, I would suggest. And maybe a lot of these American reggae bands that are doing so well could collaborate and invest in developing schools and trade schools in Jamaica to help these kids in Jamaica be able to jumpstart their music careers through learning their instruments, through learning how to promote themselves, through learning how to not get cheated on the road or in the music or from a record label. All the skills that these white reggae bands have been able to do so well at sidestepping. I'm witnessing why they've succeeded so well, and it's because they haven't been taken advantage of at the level a lot of these foundational artists were, and a lot of these young artists out of desperation get taken advantage of. You know, they had a leg up, they had a comfortable situation, and they had people who were by them, who are out of the spotlight, who are coaching them in the way to not get taken advantage of, and maybe they could help some of these young artists out of the Caribbean in some capacity, and not just with words, but with that aid that folds.
What?
And, you know, put their money where their mouth is and invest in these schools, so that these people who are disadvantaged, who are disproportionately disadvantaged, and through that disproportionate disadvantage have manifested a genre that has rewarded people in Europe and America, whether it be record labels or producers or even artists now, parlaying small fortunes and monopolies off of a genre that we were so graciously welcomed into by a humanitarian spirit of Caribbean peoples. Not to take advantage of them. But that being the case, we congratulate all the winners. We congratulate all the Billboard winners. We know how difficult it is for musicians to succeed. We know it's no easy road for any musician. For people who live that musician lifestyle, for those people who live that musician lifestyle and are on the road day and night, and are, if they're not on the stage singing their heart out or playing their instruments in the hot spotlight, they're trying to sell their merch. They're trying to talk people into giving them a chance by buying an album or buying an EP or buying a record. It's no easy road. And it's a lot of time away from family. It's a lot of time away from kids. And it's a lot of sacrifice made, regardless where you're coming from or where you're going to. It's a nonstop struggle, and people are making less and less money every single day, as long as the trend is everyone streaming their music and cutting them out of reciprocity. So we honor those who win their award, but we understand that it's a game that's being played. And there's one more point I want to make about the Grammys and these awards, like the Billboard Music Awards, that people need to get clear so they understand why the people that win, more so than just the notoriety or the amount of people listening or the amount of people that are diehard reggae fans really loving their album. Baba, my phone is about to die, so I'm going to plug it in. I hope it isn't popping too much. The wind has died a little bit, but I gotta plug it in so it doesn't die on us. Does it still sound okay?
It's cool. It's good.
It's good. Okay. So one more thing. The way Grammys are won is by people involved in production, people involved in promotion, people involved in the Grammys, people involved in the bands that are being nominated, pay money to register to be able to vote. If you can get more people involved who are registered by paying $200 or $300 a year to be able to vote, that's who's voting for the Grammys. There's no hotline. There's no 1-900 number, 800 number you call to vote for the Grammys. They're not even necessarily looking at record sales. They have people who are involved in the making of the album, promoting of the album, distributing the albums, register. If they're willing to register, and if they're willing to pay the money to do it, and if they're willing to vote, those are the people voting for the albums. So it's no coincidence that Soja's first album that had many collaborations with many bands that weren't nominated, who all have huge crews of people involved in their production and everything else who are registered to vote, all voted for the album that they're featured on. Now, if Spice had the same situation, she probably would have won. If Jesse Royal is the other artist I forgot to mention, Jesse Royal's album was the last album, was the other album that was nominated, which I personally would have voted for myself as the best reggae album of the year, but it's not a reggae album. It has two or maybe three reggae-ish songs on it, but mostly it's pop, dancehall, crossover with reggae. So it's not even a tried and true through and through reggae album. So so even that album isn't a non-crossover reggae album. So basically what we see is all of these albums are crossover albums. None of them are roots reggae albums, and we're going to get to that in a minute. It's a game, and the person who plays the game the best wins the trophy. And that's what Soja successfully did. And I personally don't feel as though it was even the best Soja album ever made. But it won because they played the game and they played it better than everyone else. And they succeeded. And their fans loved them to death. And me being a friend of theirs, a contemporary of theirs at one point in time, we all grew up together. I love seeing my friends succeed. I love seeing my friends get awards and get awarded for their hard work. They've been working for over 20 some years, barely taking breaks, on the road all the time. If they're not on the road, they're in the studio. This is, I believe, their 8th album. I believe this is their 8th album, and they've been working hard in a long time. And I love to see my friends get the rewards they deserve. Do I think it was the best reggae album nominated? No. Do I think it was the most genuine roots reggae album nominated? Not really. But in a way, it was the one with the most reggae-ish one-drop formula on there, except for maybe Gramps Morgan's album. But, you know, that's what it is. It's a game where you got to get the votes. And the way you get the votes is you have people involved in your cipher, in your sphere of influence, in your collaborations, registered to vote, and they have to vote. And if Spice isn't getting those people involved, if Gramps isn't getting those people involved, if Jesse Royal isn't getting enough of those people involved, then they're never going to win at that game. Now, do we think the Grammy is the end-all, be-all of the honors of reggae music? Not at all. Not even close. And to show you how not even close that is, but hey, enough respect and honors going out to Soja. And I wanna say that leading up to this, just for what they for their lifetime achievement. And it's not even halfway through their lifetime, but I would look at it as a certain a pinpoint or a landmark in an aspect of their lifetime achievement award would be getting the Grammy. I definitely think they deserve a trophy for working as hard as they have at their careers. And so big up to them for that, no doubt. But what it all comes down to is if we want authentic, genuine, conscious, Rastafarian, roots and culture reggae music to succeed, we need to invest in it. We need to support it. Money talks and all that BS wall. You know, like if we're not supporting it, if Black people aren't supporting it, and if less and less white people are supporting the genuine stuff, then there's going to be no incentive for artists to keep doing it. And, you know, like Vegas said, Mr. Vegas said, when a lot of people were grieving, because the people who are upset about Soja winning the award, it's not even a lot of the artists. It's really not even a lot of the artists. It's a lot of the fans. It's reggae fans. It's people who love genuine reggae music, genuine dancehall music, who some of them don't even know who Soja is. And we're like, how did these guys win the Best Reggae Music Award when there was all this other genuine Caribbean people performing this music that we do like, and they didn't win? You know? So and the biggest cop-out I've heard is on behalf of a lot of fans of Cali Roots and a lot of fans of Soja, which is, oh, it's just blatant racism. A lot of people are just upset Soja won because they're white.
What?
And that is a desperate oversimplification of an explanation of to why people are actually upset. You know, it discredits a lot of the legitimate reasons why a lot of people were upset that Soja won.
Let me just step in. Let me just step in real quick. Yeah, and I think that I would give particularly Jamaican people, my Jamaican people, much more credit than that they welcomed you in with open arms, taught you, encouraged you. I sat back and watched it all the time. They encouraged you to keep doing what you're doing. I also understand now why Vaughn Benjamin in the dressing room said, and I'm paraphrasing him now, he looked, it was a white artist, or might have looked at us, I think it was. He said, all you looking for, all I got to do is say one good thing about you, and that's all you want, then you take and run with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what Vaughn Benjamin said. So I would give our people much more credit than that they practice what they preach. And sometimes I think that it ends up becoming a noose around the neck to keep us from struggling to breathe free. We still facing the same thing that the original Rastafari Black theology struggle was trying to get us free from. We not free from that. And whether your way of devotion to the thing, I'm speaking to white folks now, is different, that's fine. You can even have, your little reggae, the parts that you can identify with if you only want to pull out the marijuana and all that. But don't superimpose your way of devotion on the original. I think that that's unfair. It's very disingenuous to the people that you say that you love. And, I guess that I don't know what happened. I don't know if the battery ran out on Selector AD or not, but let's give him some time to come back. Let's see. If he doesn't, family, maybe the his phone died. We're gonna see if he comes back in here. In the meantime, in between time.
Rev up, this is Jordan Blackamore live on the rec, and you're in tune to the new school roots and culture reggae music taste of consciousness with Selector AD, the Bambu King on KSKQ 89.5 FM in Ashland, Oregon. Homegrown community radio. Log on and don't be strange to the music. This is Blackamore.
This one specially manufactured for Selector AD, Bambu King. Oh, yeah. Bambu King, oh, yeah. Blackamore, yeah. Reggae music. Selector AD bring the Bambu King, oh yeah. Yeah, what we say? Well, she's one of the sweetest things in this world. I feel her like my heartbeat. Something so special about this girl. The whole world listens when she speaks. She makes me wanna sing a melody, sing a melody. I sing a melody, Selector AD. I sing a melody, bring a melody. We sing a melody for Anjali. AD, me have a special request. Only to be blessed by AD sound particular. Them say you're full of niceness. Relieve all your stress. That's why all over the world you're well popular. You make me waistline a wobble. When me feel the treble and the bass line a bubble.
All right, family. He has made it back. Hold on, he's made it back in the building here. Hold on 1 second. Let me adjust some things right here. All right. Back in the house. We back in the house.
Yeah, brother. Sorry about that. My phone overheated. It was in the sun and it overheated.
I'm glad you made it back. I don't like to get the last word.
Yeah.
I never like to get the last word. I like people to go ahead and who are on here and say what they got to say unabated. That's just the way I do. I add my little 2 cents, but
all right.
I had ended my.
I gotta go grab my paper real quick. I ran out so fast. I gotta grab my paper that I'm gonna have. That I do want to end it with delivering a whole bunch of really good reggae albums for the massive to check out and to be able to cite up if they want to hear some real good rock hard roots and culture reggae music from the same year as all those albums got nominated. That none of them made it. None of them made it nominated, but the Bambu King was paying attention, and I wanted to share that with the family. So let me go run and grab my piece of paper real quick, and then I'm going to finish my thought before technology failed on us.
All right, family. If you want to check the Selector AD, the Bambu King out, you can check him out every Wednesday on 89.5 KSKQ, Ashland, Oregon. Again, that's internet radio, so you can either Google that 89.5 KSKQ radio, Ashland, Oregon, and you will see it there every Wednesday between 6 and 8 our time on the East Coast. Or you can download Simple Radio. That's Simple Radio. It's a free app. Download it, and then you can enter the same information on Simple Radio. That is 89.5 KSKQ, Ashland, Oregon, every Wednesday between 6 and 8 our time, and you will be able to hear the get a good education, honest education of what the reggae music is all about. So with that being said, I think he's back in the house.
Yes, family. I'm sorry about the interruption. My phone overheated and I had to throw it in the freezer for a minute to get it to come back on. But we back. We in there. So so we just saying the point I was in the midst of making was that we really it would be a lot easier to not criticize the burgeoning subgenres of reggae music if the foundational team players were paid decently for what they contributed, as well as the genuine, heartical, authentic Caribbean artists of today were getting half of the amount of recognition as a lot of these artists from across the world, in Hawaii and America and California and Europe and different things. If they were getting a fraction of the recompense financially for the amount of energy they put in, then it would be easier to not criticize others, which we don't criticize those who, we really don't like criticizing musicians at all, because it's such a hard occupation to endure. It really is. A lot of people are like, nah, man, just playing music. You playing day after day after day after day for months at a time, even on days you don't feel like it, even on days that you're sick. You're not around your family most of the time. You're in a bus with a bunch of other people that are your friends, but you probably get sick of after months and months and weeks of that. So it's like, it's never being in your own bed. I mean, there's a lot of things that you have to consider when you really take up that mantle or that road. So, but like I'm saying, like, when it comes down to it, what people are paid for is putting butts in seats, trying to keep it clean, putting butts in seats and selling records. Like, that's what people are making money for.
If you're not selling records and people aren't coming to see you at the festival, or people aren't coming to see your shows, that's what it is. And it's up to us to be those people. It's up to us as the consuming, purchasing public to support the artists that we want to see. And you're not supporting them by streaming them on Spotify. You're not supporting them by listening to all this stuff for free on YouTube. You know, if you want to hear what a couple tracks sound like, do that. But then buy the albums that of the artists you want to see keep doing it. Because that's what all these white kids are doing. That's what all these Hawaiian kids are doing. They're buying the albums from the artists they want to listen to. And we can't really begrudge that. We can't really begrudge that. If we're not supporting if you're not supporting Black culture and the different aspects of Black culture, you're not supporting conscious hip hop artists, and then you complain about there's no conscious hip hop artists. If you're not supporting conscious roots and culture reggae music, and then complain that there ain't no conscious roots and culture reggae music, there's only this other stuff. Well, that other stuff is making money. Ratchet slackness dancehall is making money. Poppy cornball American roots, American reggae is making money. If the conscious stuff ain't making money, then it ain't gonna generate the reciprocity that it should, in my humble opinion, that it should, and it won't be kept alive. It won't continue if these artists aren't able to even afford going on tour or going and producing new albums. So it's up to us. It's up to us as the consuming, purchasing public to feed the things we want to grow, starve the things that gotta go. And we gotta support conscious music with a message. Not for us, for our kids, man. Like, for real. Yeah, I mean, we should have talked to Raz Padal about it, talked to Raz Sam Brown about it, talked to Mortimer Plano about it. We should have communicated with them about what the priority really ought to be. And it's keep the culture and the music. It's keep the roots in the music. The music's gonna change. It's gonna develop. It's gonna change up style and fashion and everything. But if the consistency of the message is good, then we're actually working with something. So that being the case, I don't wanna chat too long. Oh yeah, but the example I did want to use was Mr. Vegas. He's saying you got a lot of people, and this is what I was saying when I cut off. The people that are upset by Soulja winning the Grammy, it's not even the artists. A lot of the artists understand what's going on. A lot of the artists understand that the majority of people spending money on reggae music are white people. And a lot of, even though it's a revolutionary music, fighting against colonialism, fighting against oppression, fighting against subjugation by, white cultural norms and those type of things, emancipation, freedom and independence, this is what reggae music was built on. This is what Rastafari is the foundation of, what most of reggae music is built on. And it's a socially conscious platform of music. It's a special kind of music. It's the king's music. It's revolutionary music. And what a lot of these revolutionary artists realize, that the majority of people spending money on it happen to be white people from America and from Europe. And I'm not saying I think we should be saying, oh, white people shouldn't be spending no money on it, because the truth is, maybe this Cali roots stuff, maybe this brogue sort of style of reggae music, maybe it's a more genuine representation of white people playing reggae music. Maybe a lot of people don't want to see a bunch of white kids from Northern California and Southern Oregon and DC with dreadlocks and big scraggy beard with green, gold, and red and robo raps and all sorts of things like that. Maybe a lot of people don't take that seriously. I know they don't. I know they don't. A lot of them look at it as a caricature. And it wasn't until the last 10 years or so, 10 or 15 years, that white kids could just look like white kids and play reggae music about some pretty surface stuff, subject matter, love songs and weed songs and party songs and reggae songs. And and keep it really surface, keep it really light, reggae light, what I call it. And they can do that and succeed better than they could with dreadlocks down to the ground, playing deep minor key, slow, one drop roots and culture reggae music. So, it's not my cup of tea. It's not my preference. I like the deep root stuff, but maybe it is a more sincere representation of their interpretation of the music they want to play and the way they want to represent themselves in the genre that is obviously from Black people, and just like with every other American genre of music, or really genre of music, period, it all comes from one. It's the one word. So that being the case, I just want to stress, like you said, Baba, like we got to take some of the blame. We got to shoulder some of the blame. If we're not supporting the music ourselves, then we can't complain. Like even Del Jones said, the war correspondent, Del Jones said, we're dealing with the culture band. It's like, if we're not going to do it and they're doing it, we can't complain. Like, we got to be the ones doing it. We got to be the ones supporting it fiscally as well as from our mouth. And, or else it's just going to crumble. And that being the case, Vegas said, it's kind of like a bunch of Jamaicans getting angry because we go to the Grammy, just pretend the Grammy Awards is a jerk chicken award. And all the Jamaicans bring a bunch of fried chicken. And the only people bring any jerk chicken is some white boy that come and he cooks some jerk chicken. It's not the best jerk chicken in the world, but it's the only jerk chicken that they brought. And everyone else brought fried chicken. Well, that's the person who wins the award, and then everyone's upset. So there's a lot of Jamaican and Caribbean people out here, particularly the artists and DJs, big up Raz Israel, that know exactly what we're saying is that, we're not supporting slack music. We're supporting conscious music. We're supporting music with a message. And even if it isn't as tried and true and deep and revolutionary as we would like it to be, if everyone else is gravitating towards slackness, if everyone else is gravitating towards stuff that's diversely un-reggae music without the conscious message, and a bunch of sexy body business and a bunch of party music and a bunch of violent gun chat, then can you really blame people for gravitating towards something a lot softer? Even if
I think that I understand and understand now why Bob Marley said put I with the R&B. Because if we've been inundated with the filth, because of those who, same thing with hip hop, because of those who control the purse strings and stand behind the scenes and are the paymasters of poor Black people, then of course you're gonna play this. We'll discourage that. Now we got it to a point where the epitome of the awards isn't even the authentic anymore. So Bob said, play I with the R&B. Stick me in the meaning what you were saying about the creative genius of Black people can create all different forms of reggae, all different forms of hip hop. Nothing wrong with that, but that liberating message. Bob said, I'm gonna keep that the same. That's why put me in this genre. Because I'm still Bob Marley. I'm gonna give you that liberating message. If I got to give you a little water here, give you a little love song there, but my motive is to uplift you at the same time. And I think that there's there's nothing wrong with love songs. I'm not, prudent about things. I think that it's too much of that. And our people think that that's the way to go. I would never blame the artists, but those who stand behind the scenes, knowing our people are poor, hungry, raggedy, naked, and out of doors, then of course it's easy for that people to say, well, is this how I'm going to make it? Because this is all what's selling. It's the same thing with me on YouTube. Support the artist. This is not a monetized page. I do not give a damn about making no money on YouTube. I'm making money, and it's not off other people. It's through genuine service going out there working. If I got to mop a floor, you know, I come from that. So I'm not too proud to tell y'all that. It's sweet to me to do that than to be able to rob our people. And those of you on YouTube with YouTube pages that play not just reggae, but all of the art, you put the whole damn album out there on your page. The whole damn album, rather than give them maybe one or two and promote it. That's why I don't mean to be partial when you all see me putting only the revolutionary type. It's not that I don't want to come with the balance, but there's so much of the imbalance of the freakishness and the foolishness. I want to constantly remind you, we almost forgotten. It's like Malcolm said, you put so much sugar and cream in the damn coffee, you never knew you had coffee. So that's what I'm fighting. I will pick and choose, cherry pick the artists who speak to the liberation theology struggle. And maybe when we get our people get educated, strong, and then maybe I'll be a little bit more balanced. But I don't see us being more balanced about anything. We're slowly but surely. We don't want to hear that anymore. Oh, we in a different time now. Drink again, drink Heineken. Do all these damn things. Not the rosters that I came up under didn't teach me that. And they not no old world rosters neither. I don't know what they saying to you, but they kept it real with Baba in DC. They didn't play at all with me. So, you know, I said I don't want to be ugly about any of these things, but we need to have a serious talk with one another and to charge me or any other people who have suffered with racism and what your people have been, I think it's totally asinine, it's unfair, and it's absolutely ridiculous, and I ain't going for it. That small time stuff with me today. You will just hear it, or you don't have to hear it. I'm not begging for your ears, but I think if you gave a little attention to what is being said, and these are different perspectives. That's why he's on here. We've always did that, even in DC with our mixes, the duality. So you getting it right now on Baba TV. Now, I'm not hating on nobody, but I'll be damned if I'm not no go along to get along brother either. Yes, I've been, you know, I was taught my views are more narrow and nationalistic in my focus, and it's largely because of my experience. Let me give you to the white artists. Here's something to think about. I don't experience everything that my people experience. Give you an example. Like going down, riding in my car, you know, the police pull you over and stuff and judge you because of the way you look or you black. I haven't experienced that because if they go by me real quick, they not gonna think that I'm black. So I have to be honest. We have to be honest. I haven't experienced everything that my people have experienced.
Yeah.
But just because that's the case, I have love and honor. Maybe it's just because of my upbringing with my grandmama or all that. So I got the upper hand. But you know, injustice that affects us, you know, affects one of us will eventually affect all of us. And I can't just stand by and watch stuff when I know that it's not right. So you got to be able to negate your own selfish personal desires and wants, because there are desires that we may have. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there are desires that we may have that may conflict with what the reality of the situation is. And I want to end it off by saying that it's truth. Truth is bigger than us all. And if you won't bow down to the truth, what the hell will you bow down to? I'm done.
100, bro. 100, right and exact. And that's the fire that I felt in my belly when I would hear people say just so blatantly, oh, if people are angry that this band or that band won the Grammy because they're white, it's just because they're racist. And it's coming from a people who have never known the struggle that African people have had just to, like Marcus Garvey said, you're going to have to work 3 times as hard to get half as far. You know, and whatever it is you do achieve and succeed, you're going to have damn white people trying to take it from you and take the credit for it. So that's something that a lot of white people, even in the wake of all of this woke culture, even in the wake of a lot of white people trying to feign, maybe legitimately, it's down to an individual basis at this point, but maybe legitimately trying to come up out of their old world ways and mentality and have more appreciation and respect and empathy for the struggle of indigenous people and African people and Native American people and the Europeans' influence on Asian and Indian people and everything that the European has twisted in the cultures that it's come into contact with and extolled the virtue of themselves, European people and European standards, as the prime authoritative influence in their culture, as the measuring stick of success in their culture, in their religions, and their ideologies. Like, I think there's, people think they woke, but they're just tired of being culturally and spiritually broke, because now they're trying to wake up. They're trying to wake up, they're trying to activate, but it's starting really a lot slower than I think a lot of them know, which is why you see a lot of them overcompensating and overreacting and psychologically projecting racism at the victim of cultural racism and subjugation and biases for so long, and now supplanting themselves as the victim. They're like, oh no, I'm the victim of racism because people were upset that a white band won the reggae award. That's precious to me, to see white people pretending that they're a victim for being scrutinized in an era which is the first era comfortable to be able to scrutinize the white people for getting, for taking anything from anybody else, or taking the credit, a disproportionate amount of credit for a modest attempt at the genre, so that being the case, I think a lot of them aren't quite as woke as they want to think they are. And if they were, for instance, I live in Oregon. It's majority white for sure, but I've heard way more criticism about Soulja winning the Grammy from white people than I have from black people. And that's because the people that I've heard any criticism from are people who are lifelong reggae aficionados who love the richness of the foundation of reggae music and love the artists of today. They're not big fans of American reggae. They kind of look at American reggae as a sort of carnation formula reggae, add water and stir, very formulaic caricature of the real thing. And these are white people, mind you. These are white people. And not all of them are white reggae musicians or DJs. These are just white fans. These people who spend money on black music, and they're like, man, I can't believe that's how it went. And then what they come down to, and it's not because of racism that they're saying this, it's because they're saying sonically, they find that album less appealing than they find some of the other albums, or a lot of albums that weren't even nominated, that we're about to go over. Where's Akabeka? Akabeka ain't won no Grammy. Midnight ain't won no Grammy. Pressure Buspipe ain't won no Grammy. So there's a lot that we're about to go over, and without making it even more long-winded than I tend to do, I really appreciate your input, Baba, with what you were saying, because I think that's right and exact. Everything you just presented is right and exact. And I think it's a cheap cop-out. It's a mighty white cop-out to say that the only reason anyone would be critical of the Grammy win for Soulja would be because of racism. You can't give it to Sting every year. So, that's the thing. And so really we do need to take reggae music awards more seriously in the sense of doing it for ourselves. Jamaica needs to have more serious reggae awards, and not just reggae, dancehall, crossover, Afro beats. Like, it's expanded. It's bigger things now. I mean, Cali Roots didn't exist 20 years ago. A lot of this dancehall as it exists now didn't exist. New wave dancehall, new wave roots didn't exist as it was 20 years ago. So it has grown. Like Brother I Wayne said, Fire Wayne. He said, the more them talk about reggae dead, the more reggae spread. And, you know, it's even hard to get an honest critique of the American contemporaries within the music from these artists, because the truth is, they know what side their bread's buttered on. Like, they know they don't want to go do a festival if none of the white people are allowed to pay to be there and buy their albums, if 80% of them are white, you know? And I'm not saying that they should be beholden to adulterate their message to pander to these fans. I think if they're genuine, wholehearted reggae fans and Rastafari enthusiasts who happen to be European, that they would cherish the opportunity to hear an unbridled, unfiltered critique of the overarching colonial powers over their art form, over their culture, over their spiritual systems. Vaughn Benjamin, that's what attracted me to Midnight. And I don't want to speak for you, Bob. I would never dare speak for you because you speak for yourself, brother. But
Go ahead.
But I think what attracted both of us so passionately to Midnight at the very beginning was their unbridled, unapologetic, pro-Black, militant, diversely African spiritual interpretation of Rastafari and through their reggae music. Their critique of the oppressor, their critique of the established systems of power that try to keep Black people down and pigeonhole into a position of control where they can reap all the reward. Their resistance to being taken advantage of as musicians in the art form, even before they had an international reputation, when they were just a local band from St. Croix, really Antigua, but St. Croix in DC. When they were just a local band in DC, they set the terms. Midnight set the terms. They said, this is how much of the bar you're going to give us. This is how much of the doors you're going to give us. And if you don't do what we say, then we ain't coming. And that's bold for a no-name band, even as powerful and poignant and prolific as Midnight at that time, to flex. But they did it, and they attracted us to them because of that resistance. It wasn't them patting us on the head and patting us on the back and say, oh, we're all the same, brother. It's all one love. You know, we're all carbon-based human beings and this and that. No, it was hearing them talk truth to power. And it was even hearing them talk truth to other artists that were trying to play the music industry game and trying to clue Vaughn into how to play the music industry game. You're going to have to tone it down, brother. You're going to have to appeal to these white people because they're the ones going to be buying your records. You're going to have to do this and that and this. And then he would just turn it all around on them and school them and say, it's not my job to pander to them. My job is to wake my people up so that they can shake the dust from their bones and get back to Africa mentally, spiritually, and physically. That's what he said. He said the sum total, we have them all recording somewhere, saying the sum total of all the songs he's ever made is to get the Black man and woman back together and up out of Babylon. That's what he was striving to do. Now, maybe his human spirit got a little bit more expanded as he got older and saw and recognized the effect he was having on youth like me, youth like all of these kids on the West Coast in Europe, and all these ones running around worshiping him like a prophet, because in a way he was. But like, maybe he realized, like, maybe I am the virus that can get in the computer, that can scramble the signal of the matrix. Maybe this is what's going to be the code breaker to illuminate the light code lockdown, as Reverend Phil Valentine would talk about the light code lockdown. Maybe it's going to be the code breaker to crack that open and change. Because when Satan begins to cast out Satan, how then can his kingdom stand? And if the children of the slave master are intolerant of the system that their forebears, their forefathers are trying so desperately to hold on to, so trying so desperately not to let go of, then it's a whole nother weapon of mass destruction for Babylon. And Vaughn was that. And in a way, he was just a great activator for everyone. All who have ears, let them hear. And there's no crime against that, I think. There's no crime in being able and willing to activate the majority of people on the planet. And it's up to those people to be able to shed the old skin of an old world, an old way of looking at things, and being born again mentally and spiritually, to understand and appreciate and have affinity for the resistance of Rastafari, the resistance spirit. So you can look at a Vaughn Benjamin and appreciate his resistance to just being another happy-go-lucky, one love, let's get together and feel all right, Rasta Bop and Reggae Dread, Carnival Cruise Reggae Dread. You can look at a Empress Sativa and see a strong Black woman who's unapologetically scathing to the oppressor. And even if the oppressor is paying a significant amount of wages to see her in concert, it's beautiful that she doesn't have to water down her message in order to say, oh, well, you know, I know who's paying the bills, so I'm going to be, you can still be nice, you can still be cordial, have what Farrakhan used to talk about, a functional unity, right? Or what was it called? A collaborative unity, a function.
Operational unity.
Operational unity. Yeah, we don't need to be mercilessly conniving against one each other the way the European has been up until very, very, very recently, and still is in many instances, except for a very small minority who are starting to activate. You know, we can be brothers and sisters in the cause and in the culture without being brothers and sisters ethnically or racially or even culturally. We can be brothers and sisters in the cause because it's the white artists and white Rastas and white, not just Rastas, but white people who recognize the value of the aspect of indigenous culture, indigenous cultural representation through music and art and things like that, and can give all the credit where it's due. Who is the original man? The maker, owner, cream of the planet Earth, mother and father of civilization, God and goddess of the universe. The Asiatic Black man and woman. And if you can't recognize that, and if you can't give the original man and woman their flowers while you're here because you're still so caught up in ego of being a white person, then you really haven't woke up that much at all, and still got a lot of work to do. Maybe you need to go listen to Midnight's albums a few more times. Maybe that might stimulate something. Maybe a little more Akabeka, you know, to understand that we're all from that one sea, carbon dust across the sea, that Black essence. We're all from that Black. And the sooner we can appreciate that and have more of a cherishing affinity for that, the more we can respect one another as human beings and see each other as allies in the struggle to get back to the essence of humanity that sustains life instead of threatens it. So that being the case, brother, I know I've gone far too long, and I still got this that I really want to give the people before we end the program. So is that before I get into this, is that good, brother? Is that all right with you?
Yeah, that's beautiful. I just want to say that, Baba isn't saying something that's not coming back on him. We have to practice what we preach and all the endeavor. And so I want to give a powerful shout out to Brother Sarnetta, who is the foundation of this channel, and Doggy Diamonds. These are the pioneers that have been on YouTube so long. Go on and type in Brother Sarnetta and Doggy Diamonds. These are the people. Now, Doggy and Sarnetta, they don't expect those that have came up under them to be parrots of them. We have to find our own lane. So Baba had to find his own lane, but we can do that without being disrespectful, without forgetting where our root is, and that Baba TV wouldn't be a damn thing I've said this consistently, and I haven't said it in a while, and I will continue to, that he is the foundation of Baba TV, and these are the pioneers. Doggy Diamonds have been out there, and they have paved the way. They have struggled. And even General Seti has been out there with a YouTube channel many don't know for a long time. And they all have preceded my little channel. But this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. And I can shine and let it shine without forgetting and being disrespectful to the ones who came before me. I've determined that I will never do that. You that have been following me know that I have never done that. I will never allow anybody to get on my channel and talk about any of our people in a negative way. You can get the hell out of here and don't ever come back if you're going to do that. I just don't, that's just not my lane of doing things. So we have to be, we have to be careful what we say. And, as Ross Sam Brown told me one day, if you can't be good, be careful. Go right ahead, brother.
True. So true. So true. So in the wake of such a stirring up of mixed emotions with the Grammy win and just the way of reggae music to nowadays, and an absence of platforms to be able to showcase some of the finest roots and culture reggae music in the world being made today, primarily Rastafarian roots reggae. I thought I'd use this fine platform of Baba TV every time fire. We talked about it on Taste of Consciousness on my radio show on KSKQ, but I would be remiss if I didn't utilize Baba TV every time fire. He's a fervent supporter of everything black culture, music, liberation theology, literature, the elders, the young ones in the streets, the youth, independent underground radiant journalism. He's there, Baba TV there. So that being the case, and since we're dealing with music, we're not dealing with a whole bunch of other theoretical stuff on this presentation. We got something special coming up though, Baba. Definitely, we got one of them long ones coming up. This one's turned a little longer than I thought, but we got a real good one coming up with some deep stuff. But in the spirit of music, in the spirit of reggae music in particular, and giving people their flowers where the industry hasn't, the Billboard Music Awards hasn't, the Grammys haven't. I wanted to share with you, since all the albums, those 5 albums that went to the Grammys for 2021, were actually albums that were released in 2020, I wanted to share with you some of the best roots reggae, not dancehall, not a whole bunch of crossover, but primarily roots reggae albums that were released in 2020. A few of them on the list are from 2021. And then I got another list of stuff that's come out in 2022 that shouldn't be overlooked, that I really want to share with the family. So you may want to relook at this tape, relook at this video when after it's done with a pen and pencil. I don't expect you to catch all this right now, but you can go through it and write some of the stuff down and go check it at your own leisure as to some of the things. And I'm going to start with my top 4 or 5 that I would say should have been. All of these were worthy of being in the Grammy Reggae Awards for real roots reggae, but weren't. I'll start with first off, which I say in my heart, in 2020, the best reggae album that was released in 2020 was Blackamore, Upward Spiral. Jadon Blackamore, its artist name is Blackamore, Upward Spiral, Luster King production, Zion I King production, Baco Records distribution. You can buy the deluxe edition, the double disc deluxe edition has a bunch of dub tracks, I-grade dub versions, and a few extra bonus tracks, 2 or 3 extra bonus tracks that aren't on the regular single disc album at Baco Records. It's a distribution company in France. It's the distribution company for Luster Kings and Zion I Kings right now. But Upward Spiral by Blackamore, in my opinion, hands down, best reggae album of 2020. Should have won. And it won my best reggae awards, but not the Grammys. But Blackamore, Dea, Upward Spiral, wicked, wicked. Okay, Turbulence, The Future, out of Jamaica. Turbulence, The Future, out of Jamaica, with The Remedy, his first album in a while. Majority roots. It's got a couple dance hall songs, couple different songs, but majority roots production. Really good live instrument roots production. Turbulence, The Remedy, from the Never Stop Booking label, but the album is called The Remedy by Turbulence. And then Micah Shamaya, another Jamaican artist, big Jamaican artist on the scene right now, busting through with his roots and culture reggae music, but his album Still, Still, Still by Micah Shamaya, which is Zion High production, Jah David Goldfine, and Zion I Kings, which is Lauren Tippy Alfred with I Grade Records, Andrew Moon Bain with Luster King Production, and Zion High Productions with Jah D, all collaborating to make Zion I Kings the best reggae production in the business right now. And so big ups to all of them dons with Micah Shamaya, Still. And then I'd say the fifth, or actually maybe I got to give you six. This is my top six. Jinja, big up to Jinja out of Jamaica. Jinja with his album The Reggae Soul Man. The Reggae Soul Man from Nature's Way Entertainment production is wicked. Live instrumentation through and through, all good rhythms, none that are being used for compilations or anything. So it's all rhythms that you haven't really heard before. A few big hits on it, but just the whole album is good. Normally Jinja does a lot of love songs too, but this is all, there's like maybe one love song on it, but the whole album is wicked. Jinja, Ginjah, with The Reggae Soul Man. And then last but not least, could never be least, at the head of the feast is Aka Beka, Akaebeka, Aka Beka, which is Vaughn Benjamin, the Honorable Vaughn Benjamin of Midnight, with his last posthumous album, I Grade Records release. Once again, Lauren Alfred, big up Tippy I, with I Grade Records release of Polarities by Ake Beka. And I have to say that Polarities, I think, is my favorite Vaughn Benjamin album under the moniker Ake Beka. There's a lot of great ones, Make a Mention and Livocation and Nurtured Frequency and so many others. I got another one in the list coming up. But Polarities, I think, is my favorite thus far Vaughn Benjamin album under the moniker Ake Beka. So Polarities, check for that. All right, and these next 20 or plus are Zana Romeo, which is Xana Romeo, because it's Max Romeo's daughter. Max Romeo, legendary roots, one step forward, two step backward in a Babylon, War in a Babylon, Iron, was it, you know, put on an iron suit, what? Oh man, I'm spacing on it now. Got too much good music in front of my face. Anyway, Chase Satan Out of Earth, and Zana Romeo with her The Roots of X album. Really good production on that. Zana Romeo, Roots of X, Charmax product music along with Romeo music, Charmax music, The Roots of X by Zana Romeo. Also, Pressure Bus Pipe from the Star Lion family out of St. Thomas, probably the biggest Virgin Islands artist next to Midnight, next to Vaughn Benjamin, biggest Virgin Islands reggae superstar on the scene today. And that's Pressure Bus Pipe. Heights of Greatness was his last album, Heights of Greatness from the Bus Pipe Records. A lot of his own productions and collaborations in that self-produced album, Heights of Greatness by Pressure Bus Pipe. Really good album. Also had Archangel in the mix. Archangel, who is from Guyana, Buxton, Guyana. And Archangel with the album Na Wata Down. That's Nahwath Down. Na Wata Down. And that's a Zion High production, Jadi, Zion High production, Zion I King collaboration production. That's his second album with Zion I King's Na Wata Down. That's the one Archangel out of Guyana. Also had Meta and the Cornerstones. Meta and the Cornerstones is a group, big super group based in America. Meta Dia is from Senegal. He's from Senegal in Africa, but all the bands members are from Brazil, some are from New York, some are from South America, some are from Africa. It's like a big super group, a band, a bunch of people from all over the place with Meta Dia leading it. Meta and the Cornerstones. The album is called Dia, D-I-A, which is Meta Dia's moniker, but Meta and the Cornerstones. With Meta Rise Music Group is the production on Dia, the album Dia. Really good band, all original music, really good world reggae sound, deep live instrumentation, fire music, conscious message. Meta Dia don't play with the thing. Meta and the Cornerstones, Dia. All right, then we got Natty King. Big ups to Natty King, Well Records. Natty King out of Jamaica with his album Revolution. That's Rebellution, Revolution. And that's an album that he had been working on for a number of years, and it kind of grew and expanded. It's full album. It's like two discs worth on a single disc, and all live instrumentation, really good. Well production, House of Rhythm out of Austria. Because some of the biggest production teams doing roots reggae music with live instrumentation are out of Germany, out of Austria, out of Spain, out of Italy, out of France. And, so, I mean, people can say we get angry with reggae, people that play reggae that are white if they want to. They can use that as a pitiful excuse to diminish the preference of people who have been listening to reggae music for their whole life and know the difference between what they like and what is not as sonically appealing to them, and they can diminish it to just say it's racism if they want to. I'm about to give you a lot of production that's from Europe. I'm about to give you a few artists that are white themselves that are doing it all for the culture, for Black liberation theology, for Rasta messaging, for a conscious livication. They want to see Black people back on the throne where they belong. And not just the throne of reggae music, but the throne of the earth. So we give credit to those artists. We give credit to the Harrison Staffords of Groundation and the Marcus Gads and the Kevin Kinsellas and the House of Rhythm and Ja Solid Rock Foundation bands and these different things. So Natty King, Revolution, Well Records, along with House of Rhythm. Sam Gilly, big up to Sam Gilly out of Austria's House of Rhythm, who is actually also one of the key producers of all of these rhythms that Gitamani Records from Jamaica, Perfect Gitamani, who works with people from all over the world, but he has Gitamani Records where him and Chalice Rowe are making rhythms to have a lot of artists, like popular artists like him and Luton Fire and Chesedek and different ones, Natty King, but also a lot of artists like Stephen DeJure and many more, and a number of other artists that aren't as Black Prophet, that aren't as popular, and they get shine because what Perfect does is he takes his shine and he shines it on other artists that don't get as much of a lie just yet. That's where he's putting his money and his energy. And we would like to see a lot of these American bands do that too, and not just with other American bands. That's why we like the Expanders, an white American reggae band out of Southern California who makes rhythms. And then they have Queen Omega out of Trinidad and Randy Valentine out of Jamaica and Blessed and Coco T. They give them back to the foundation. Luciano, give them back to the foundation. They want to work with foundation stars. It's not just about, one race reggae festivals and segregation segregation and reggae ambitions and stuff like that. I'm not saying that any of these artists we've been talking about do that. I'm saying that it appears as though there's becoming more and more and more of a divide between the American reggae bands and the foundation that inspired them all. And it's sort of like this little club, and the foundation ain't in it. And that's not a good look. It's not a good look. So that being the case, it's all too common. So that being the case, Natty King, and then we had Chesedek with the Ligerians, actually. Chesedek with the Ligerians with the album Timeless by Soul Nurse Records. The Ligerians are a backing band of production team from France. And the Ligerians with Chesedek, and that's a wicked roots album. Chesedek and the Ligerians, Chesedek out of Jamaica. Another Akabeka album with Fifth Sun Records. That's a group in America, I believe in Arizona or New Mexico. I forget, but Fifth Sun Records with Akabeka with Righteous Synergy. Righteous Synergy, I apologize if I didn't get where they're actually located, correct them. We're just trying to get through this. But Righteous Synergy, a big album from 2020 as well. All these albums came out the same year that these 5 albums were chosen for the Grammys, and not one of these albums made it. And this is all roots reggae. This is all genuine, heart of gold, solid roots reggae music. And I would be remiss if y'all didn't know about it, because I know a lot of people who claim that they love reggae music, and they say, oh, but reggae ain't doing nothing nowadays. Ain't no one doing no reggae nowadays. Everyone's moving away from reggae and doing dancehall. I don't like the dancehall slackness. I don't like the daggering, and I don't like the Cali roots either. It's all too poppy. Even the stuff they call reggae music that's coming out of Jamaica, the production is too poppy and synthesized. This is what people tell me. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel the same way. A lot of it is very formulaic and repetitive and monotonous and all done on a synthesizer and programs. And it lacks the soul and essence that made roots reggae what it is. So if all you're going to bring to the chicken contest is fried chicken, then the 1 or 2 people bringing jerk chicken are probably going to win. So that being the case, Akabeka, Righteous Synergy, Fifth Sun Records, another Chesedek album came out called Hello Africa, which is great. Got some good ones on there by Tad's Records label by Chesedek. Richie Spice came out with a super strong one in 2020 called Together We Stand. It was his first album since his Book of Job album. All solid roots, all wicked. VP production, so there's going to be horns in it and wicked drums and bass and all the thing. It's top-notch production. Richie Spice with Together We Stand off of VP. Luciano, the Messenger, King Midas himself, the Kabbalah man. Everything he touches turns to gold, and this album is no exception. It's called The Answer. The Answer was the album that Luciano did with Oneness Records, one of my favorite production teams of the day. Oneness Records out of Munich, Germany. Munich, Germany, doing wicked, and once again, doing wicked albums, and they do work with some German artists here and there, but they working mainly with Mark Wonder and Luciano. Just did Iba Mar's last album in 2018. Get Up and Show, I believe, is the name of the Iba Mar album with Oneness Records out of Munich, Germany. So Luciano had The Answer with Oneness Records. And then Biblical, okay, so here, and then Mark Wonder is another Jamaican reggae artist who works with Oneness Records, and this album, Rems of the Dragon Slayer. Rems of the Dragon Slayer, wicked roots. That's REMZ of the Dragon Slayer from Oneness Records with Mark Wonder. Huge roots album. Luton Fire did a Oneness Records album that same year with Touch the Road by Oneness Records and Luton Fire. And that's a slammy. That's got some slammy tracks because we know Luton is the Don. Another wicked, more current Jamaican reggae artist who does a lot of singer-songwriter stuff and acoustic stuff and more traditional roots composition is Itawe, I-Taweh, Itawe with Reload with, and that's from Top Nat Music with a K, Top Nat Music, and Itawe with Reload. And those are just modern artists. And just so that I don't get called racist, it don't bother me now when white people call me racist, but I ain't gonna get called racist because I'm gonna give you some white artists that do some really good roots and culture reggae, and they don't have to water it down, and they don't have to pander to a fan base that might be off-put if you hail up Selassie or hail up Garvey or hail up the Rastafari elders or anyone except for Bob Marley. Becomes make your knees quake, you know. Big up to Marcus Gad out of New Caledonia, which is a little island just north of Australia, and with a lot of French people. They call it French Polynesia, so he's over in France a lot too. But Marcus Gad with Rhythm of Serenity was his album he did that very same year, 2020. Rhythm of Serenity with Luster King production along with Zion I Kings. Andrew Moon Bain, Luster King production. So Rhythm of Serenity by Marcus Gad. His previous album, Purified with Tribe, is really, really good. He's got some really good albums. Deep Roots, you can tell he's a student of Midnight. He's a student of Akabeka. He's trying to emulate that frequency and that spiritual richness and that resonance and that sonic delivery of Midnight. And I'm sure he would tell you that if he was on here too. He'd probably say one of his biggest influences was Midnight. Marcus Gad, another pupil of Vaughn Benjamin here in Northern California in Grass Valley, is an artist who's on this list who released an album in 2020. And it is biblical. Biblical is more of like a fire chanter, which is more of that chant sort of style from the Virgin Islands. Where, I mean, there's DYCR and, you know, other artists that kind of have John Mason kind of have a fire chant sort of vibe and stuff. But like in St. Croix, there was a big subgenre of what they call fire chant with Ja Rubal and Sabbatical Ada and Bobo Ites and Ancient King and Messiah and Lava Volcano and Vaughn Benjamin, all doing what's called fire chant, which is more of like a freestyle flowing kind of fire chant resonation. And Biblical kind of delivers his stuff in that sort of fashion and is hugely influenced by Vaughn Benjamin and that Midnight sound. Biblical and Meant to Be is the name of his album. And that's probably his 7th album. He's also the leader of Trinity Farms production, works with a lot of artists through Trinity Farms production. So Biblical with Meant to Be off of Trinity Farm Music. And then we're going to go, and then here go another one from America, from New Mexico, I believe. It's either New Mexico or Arizona. I'm getting it. Dre Z, with Coming Home from Dre Z, like it's D-R-E-Z. Dre Z with Coming Home. Dre Z Melody is his actual full name. Goa Chant Productions, which is a great deep roots production team from Barcelona, Spain. With called Goa Chant doing Coming Home by Dre Z. And then I wanted to do a couple of EPs because I don't really think EPs should win Grammy Album of the Year because they're not a full-length album. But there's a couple of EPs from people not from Jamaica that I think are really worth a listen to. YT, there's a DJ Sing-J from London, England, named YT, white guy, who loves the culture and is invested in the culture and nurtures the culture with every aspect of his being, emulates the culture, but he does it well, and he's got his own thing. It's the letter Y and the letter T, and from Oneness Records as well, out of Munich, Germany, the EP Moment for Change, and that's a great one. YT, brother YT, doing it up big with his DJ dancehall fashion, and he crushes it. I mean, he's one of them, you know, he's a white English guy, but then when you get him on stage, he sounds like he's straight Kingston Yard, you know, like straight up patois, and he don't even botch it like I do. You really come with the thing. And then here go another group from America, an honorable mention on the list too, with their EP, which is tremendous. It's Zion Rock. It's called Zion Rock. The band is called Nkula, Nkula. So big ups to Brother Ryan, big ups to Brother Nick, Raza Bell from Ethiopia, leading the band Nkula out of DC. And Zion Rock is the name of their EP. Go check it out. Really strong, original, conscious roots and culture music led by Raza Bell. And yeah, we love that Zion Rock album. Now, there's a handful of albums that came out the same year, 2020, same year that the Grammys go into one of these 5 reggae crossover albums instead of any of these reggae albums that came out that same year. Most people never got to hear or never got to be exposed to, if all they're watching is the Grammys. And these 5 albums are from veteran reggae artists that were doing it back in the golden era, who are still doing it today with some tremendous roots reggae albums, like the Wailing Souls. Big up to Brother Pipe, Winston Matthews, who I believe it was Pipe who just transcended in the last year, made his transition to join the Ancestors. A lot of artists, and I wanted to have my list on, but I didn't. I could do a few from memory, but it's been so many since Vaughn passed away. We're losing a lot of these veterans. We're losing a lot of these veteran artists, and without them there to really nurture the essence of what it is, like Muda Baruka said, he said, you better take a picture of Bob Marley and put it in the safe. Take a picture of Bob Marley and a picture of his mother and put it in the safe, because here in about 10, 15, 20 years, they're going to try to tell you Bob Marley was a white man. That's why he was such a transcendent figure in reggae music, even though he was the one who sang Black Man Redemption. So Wailing Souls with Back a Yard, big, strong album, produced by Alba Rosie. Did Wailing Souls last album in 2020. Oh, I'm sorry. There was an Alba Rosie. There was an Alba Rosie album in there that came out 2020 called For the Culture. For the Culture. We know Alba Rosie, an Italian, a Sicilian, but he'd been living in Kingston, Jamaica for what seemed like decades now, been working with producing artists. We've been working with recording artists. He's a tremendous musician, songwriter, was cleaning up the janitor at G Jam Records before he learned how to speak English from Sly and Robbie, and has been running things ever since. That's why they call him Pupa Albo. In Jamaica, they call him Pupa Albo, because he's a big don. So because he's legitimate with the thing, he ain't just impersonating something, doing it while it's trendy and then cutting his locks off when things get heavy, carrying a heavy load. No, this is his life, and this is his culture that he's embraced to the fullest and is in it. And that's why the name of his last album is For the Culture. And if you listen to his albums, you'll hear ones that sound very reminiscent to old Wailers production, or very reminiscent to old Wailing Souls production, or very reminiscent to old Black Uhuru production, or very reminiscent to old Roots Radix production. It's almost like he's strategically trying to give every album a theme that honors a huge influential group or artists in his own work. And he does that, as well as recording with all of them too, and recording dub albums with Roots Radix and Flabba Old and Sly and Robbie and Prince Jammy and all of them. So Alba Rosie, For the Culture, that's on VP, but that's all Alba Rosie production. Wailing Souls with Back a Yard, produced by Alba Rosie. And then Mystic Revealers, one of my favorite bands from the 80s and 90s, the Mystic Revealers. Big up to Billy Mystic, big up to the Jamnasia crew. He's the mentor of so many of these artists you're listening to now. Chronix, Kabaka Pyramid, John I, Ibamar, Dre Island, Mortimer, Raging Fire, Kumar and Raging Fire. And I know about Kalisa. I know a bunch more that Lila Ike, Protege. All of these artists are part of what's called the Reggae Revival. Romaine Virgo, part of the Reggae Revival crew, which is like the Jamnasia crew. And Jamnasia is the bar that he has at his surf club. Billy Mystic, the lead singer of the Mystic Revealers, the leader of the Mystic Revealers, who has a surf club that he tries to get these youth to join instead of spending time in the street, getting up to street business. He gets them to join, and then he gets them to nurture their musical talents and musical abilities and their singing abilities. And he gets them on the stage in Jamnasia to sharpen their iron and to hone their craft. And Jamnasia burned down a few years ago, and they still vamping it up and getting it back and running and going again. But this is what this brother's liberty is. It isn't just some songs he sang about in the 80s and 90s, the musical garden and all these songs he sang back in the 80s and 90s that really resonate with your soul if you listen to it. Great road trip music. It hits you, and it seeds things in you that grow. And that's exactly what he does with all these young youth in Jamaica through Jamnasia and the surf club that Billy Mystic runs, to get them to leave the street stuff alone and come and nurture your inborn talents and cultural treasure and heritage and invest in the future. Be a part of the future of reggae music. And he's a mentor for them. So big up Billy Mystic each and every time. We recognize your contribution, and we recognize the struggle. And we want to send love and big shout outs and massive respect to Billy Wilmot, or Billy Mystic, for his work with the Mystic Revealers and beyond with the Reggae Revival generation. But the Mystic Revealers just released their first brand new album in many, many, many years, since I think 98 or 99. This one's for Jah, was their last album. Well, this is their newest one, and it's called Jah Jah People, and it's wicked. It's got one called Blue Nile on it. It's wicked. I mean, it's the whole album is really, really good. Really good production, really good recording, really good engineering. Mystic Revealers, Jah Jah People from Mystic Revealers Music. And then we got the Meditations, legendary Meditations, with the Meditations and Friends Smile Again album, which has a lot of wicked roots on it. And that came out in 2020. And then Black Roots, which is one of the biggest UK roots reggae bands that was doing it back in the late 70s, early 80s, and is still doing it today. They did a bunch of stuff early on that was wicked. Another huge influence for the Midnight Sound, if you ask me. If you listen to some of that old UK, not just Steel Pulse, but Aswad and Misty and Roots, and Black Roots in particular, had a huge influence on that Midnight Sound, that really slow, minor key, deep, dark roots. That's Black Roots and Aswad and Misty and Roots. And but Black Roots is doing it again. They've come out with about 4 or 5 albums in the last 10 years. They reunited in the modern day around like 2005 or something, 2006. They reunited, and they've been doing it again. And their last album is called Nothing in the Larder by Nubian Records. And all this stuff, their old stuff is good. Their new stuff might even be better than their old stuff, because it's really top-notch production, sounds really good, and wicked. Sound just as good as it ever did. So those were the 5 vets that I wanted to, or 1, 2, 3, 4. That was actually 4 veterans. Oh, and the 5th vet, we'll just give him a big shout out, because he one of the first to ever do it, and he's still doing it. And it's none other than the legend Jimmy Cliff. Just released an album called Refugees. You know, Jimmy Cliff always kind of change it up and spruce it up and crossover it up. He was one of the biggest crossover artists in the first place with reggae. He was one of the first ones people were playing in America, people were playing in England, had that radio friendly sound, and he would cross over into other genres. But he was one of the biggest, most, next to Bob Marley, one of the most internationally renowned reggae artists of all time. And, you know, culturally rich artist and strong black man. You know, big up to Jimmy Cliff, still doing it. I can't believe he's one of the first doing it, and he's still doing it. And Refugees is the name of his brand new album. So that makes those five. That makes those five artists who have. Well, that album just came out in 2022, but the others came out in 2020, 2021. So all of those albums, that was like over 30 albums that I just named off. Not all of them are solid roots reggae music with a conscious, unapologetically black message. And not one of those albums has been nominated for a Billboard Award or a Grammy Award or any other kind of award other than the awards that we give them in our hearts and minds when we cherish the art as we let it shine when we listen to it. So yeah, Brother Baba. So before I do have a few albums I want to recommend that have just come out in the last year and since 2022. But is there anything you want to say before I just keep rolling along, brother?
No. You're doing good. Keep going.
Okay. Okay. So all those albums came out in 2020, 2021. And it wasn't even a particularly hopping year for reggae releases either. So for all those people that like reggae is dead, you just got to know where to look, and you just got to go and look. And you might have to use some, just like we need to look in books that were written by Gerald Massey and Alvin Boyd Kuhn, who happen to be white men who were writing books about how all of these Western religions actually came from African cultures and African spiritual systems. Maybe we got to go to Reggaeville in Munich, Germany, and see what the new releases are, because they got it all there. Or we go to Reggae Festival magazine with whoever's putting that out and find out where the reggae artists that are going to be in our area are going to be playing, or the festivals in our area are going to be playing. Like operational unity. You know, we don't have to agree on everything. We don't even have to agree with each other's interpretation of musical preferences or the spiritual faith system of Rastafari. My interpretation of devotion to Selassie might be different than somebody else's. It doesn't mean we have to be enemies, as long as the culture is to restore the glory to the true heirs to the throne, and in giving credit where it's due. They're destroying the blueprints, and no one can see who is the original and who is the copy. And if it hadn't happened over and over and over and over again in the musical legacy of American musical culture, then it wouldn't be so easy to assume that it's happening all over again. It's not prejudice if you're just evaluating and analyzing what has already happened and what appears to be happening in front of your face. You're not prejudging anything. You're post-judging what has already happened. And so now we're just evaluating the severity of the situation, and it could cost reggae music much more than it could ever repay by just ignoring it or dismissing it, or saying, oh, it's just because of reverse racism and why people are upset that Stick Figure is going to, because Stick Figure probably is going to be the next one to win a Grammy. And then Revolution, and then all. And I'm not saying these people don't deserve a trinket for their hard work and dedication into a genre that doesn't necessarily make a ton of money. I just don't like seeing them making a ton of money and the authenticators and foundational people struggling to make ends meet when they were the ones who built the whole university that these people were just students in. You know, and if it does come down to personal preference as being the sole factor, well, then a lot of white people are spending a lot of money on white artists that they personally prefer, and a lot of black people who say that they like conscious militant reggae music aren't spending money with the artists that they say they prefer. So it's up to us, it's up to the listener, the purchasing public, to put the money as close to the hands of the people that are developing the stuff we want to keep hearing, or they're gonna have to go do something else. You know, and it's not just reggae, it's hip hop, it's R&B, Because pretty soon, all we're going to get is this pasteurized, programmed AI version of the thing, whether it's pop or whether it's R&B or whether it's hip hop or whether it's jazz or whether it's reggae or whether it's blues. It's all getting weaker and weaker and weaker. It's all getting more overproduced by some kid in the basement with a computer, and less discipline of musical artists that really lend the soul to the music that we cherish. And that transcends race or anything. That's just, it's happening in Jamaica just like it's happening in America. The American reggae is super poppy, and the reggae in Jamaica right now is, a lot of it is super poppy. The dancehall is super poppy, Afrobeats is super poppy. And it doesn't mean we can't use technology to build music, but we can't lose the soul of what makes it so irreplaceable and so unforgettable and timeless. Because I guarantee you, 20, 30 years from now, you're not going to have radio stations dedicated to playing the way we have classic rock and classic R&B stations and classic hip hop stations. Today, we're not going to have classic music stations that are going to be showcasing music that was made in 2015 and 2020 and 2025. No one's going to care to hear that 20 or 30 years from now, because the truth is, a lot of people who really like music, they don't care to listen to it right now. Like that's the reason they're listening to music from 20 and 30 years ago, because it actually has the last vestige of music with soul. And the stuff now is just cookie cutter, carbonation formula, add water and stir, vapid, whatever it is, pop, a lot of it. I'm not saying there's good music out there, but we have so much more access to music that it gets flooded and it gets drowned out, and the waters get all muddied, and we can't pick the wheat from the chaff and the gems. We can't find the needle in the haystack because we have so much access to so much, which is good in one way, but then tough in another way, because then we're so addicted to convenience. If it's not presented to us on TikTok, then we're not going to start jerking and bobbing our neck to it. We're not even going to give it a second chance. If you don't make a video for a song, chances are people won't listen to more than 10 seconds of it anyway. So that being the case, I want to wrap up my little recommendation bit here with reggae albums, solid roots and culture reggae albums that have come out in 2020, just this year, just so far. Because I'd love for you guys I'd love for the family to indulge. I mean, these artists work really hard and sacrifice a lot. They could be doing a lot of other things to make more money than they're doing. They're going hungry so that they can do what they love, to share it with people that they want to, they would hope would appreciate it. But the only way we can really appreciate it is by purchasing it and seeing them live and supporting the industry that's, having challenges right now. So, all right, 2022 Roots and Culture Reggae albums. Abja, Raz Abja out of St. Croix, one of my favorite artists from St. Croix. Deep mystical roots vibration, very midnight-esque and deep conscious transcendental roots by Abja, with Teach I the Truth, Teach-I-D-E, Truth, by Raz Element Records. Big up to Razel. You might remember him as the keyboard player for Midnight for the last few years of Midnight, and then he switched to bass and replaced Ron Benjamin with Akabeka, playing bass for Akabeka. That's Razel. He was a big producer even before all that in St. Croix. Raz Element Records, that's ELYMENT. That's Abja, Teach I the Truth. And then we had Jalifa. Big up to Empress Jalifa, who's a young female artist out of Trinidad, Tobago. And she is busting hot on the scene, coming with a deep mystical vibe, deep voice too. And she coming with that deep mystical with Ancient Raz, which is spelled with an I, not an A. Ancient Raz. That's from Zion I Kings and Zion High Production, Jadi Production. So big up Jadi and Zion I Kings, and Jalifa, that's Jalifa with Ancient Raz. And then we have Another one by Roz Element Records with Ancient King. Ancient King is one of those fire chanters from St. Croix I was speaking about. Ancient King with Se Selassie I. That's S-E-H Selassie I by Roz Element Records. And Ancient King used to be known as Willow. And he a beast. He a beast. He one of the biggest fire chanters on the scene. Lion D, big Jamaican artist named Lion D. Lion D, the letter D, with All in This Together. Brand new album by Bizarre Production. All in This Together, Deep Roots production, live instrumentation, fire artist. He does hip hop, he does dancehall, he does roots. He's a great lyricist. Lion D, his latest album is All in This Together. Then we have Brother Hezron out of Jamaica. Brother Hezron, big singer out of Jamaica with M-O-A-M, M period, O period, A period, M period, stands for Man on a Mission, from Tad's Records. Tad's Records production, Man on a Mission by Hezron. That's H-E-Z-R-O-N. Then we got Luciano's best friend, Idrin, Kindred Brethren, Mikey General. Mikey General just released a brand new one called Hold a Heights. Hold a Heights. Kabbalah First Music and Mikey General with Hold a Heights album. And then we got Augustus Pablo's son and musical protege, Addis Pablo. Addis, A-D-D-I-S, Pablo, with Melodies from the House of Levi. Melodies from the House of Levi by Joss Solid Rock Band, by Joss Solid Rock Production. Some of the finest production in reggae music today. Works with Tough Gong Records from Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. Wicked production, wicked live horns. Joss Solid Rock sums it up with the sound of their production. And Addis Pablo worked with them on this album. Songs from the House of My Father was his first album, and Melodies from the House of Levi is this album. And he's got a few artists doing vocal versions, and then him doing the melodica-led dub versions, instrumentals on that album. So it's wicked good. And then, another great instrumental album is Highly Israel. Highly Israel from the Virgin Islands, along with Bambu Station. Bambu Station with Jelani Horton and Bambu Station out of St. Thomas, collaborating to make A Griot's Journey. Highly Israel does it's like guitar-led instrumentals. So it's like very melodic guitar-led instrumentals, really good meditational music, kind of like Tough Lion, you know. And Highly Israel is an elder who does these guitar-led instrumentals, collaborated with Bambu Station on that, House of Bamboo Records. You can even purchase it from houseofbamboo.com. That's spelled B-A-M-B-U. And houseofbamboo.com, and A Griot's Journey. A griot is a storyteller, the history keeper, the culture keeper in the community, in the neighborhood, who delivers orally the history of the ancestors to the youth of the future to keep the culture going. A Griot's Journey by Highly Israel. And then we got, something that's not out yet, but I want to put everyone down with, Perfect Gitamani. Perfect Gitamani out of Jamaica is about to release in October or November, about to release a brand new album that he just finished wrapping up with Zion Kings, probably maybe under the Luster King label or the I-Grade label, but Zion King production. And Perfect Gitamani just did a full-length album, best in the business. When two titans clash, man. I mean, it's Clash of the Champions right there. Perfect Gitamani and Zion Kings. No name to the album just yet. Just keep a lookout for Zion Kings and Perfect Gitamani releasing something in October, November. It's going to be fire, pure fire. And then one more album to recommend, and this comes from the land of the long white cloud, which is Aotearoa, which is New Zealand in the South Pacific, and a big artist. I heard you playing, so and you switched me on, brother, to Brother Israel Star on the last reggae mix you did, Baba. You played some of that Israel Star, that's with 2 R's. Israel Starr. And Israel Starr, come to find out, is the son of a reggae legend in Aotearoa, New Zealand, named the Mighty Asterix. He's a big Rastafarian reggae artist from a long time, from like the 80s, the Mighty Asterix. And Israel Starr is his son. Israel Starr is his son, and he's been working with all the bands through the generations. Has his own label now called Bless Up Music. He does hip hop and R&B and dancehall and reggae, and grew up in the 12 tribes of Israel sect of Rastafari, which is really big in New Zealand. Tini Lau Ness, and they were the ones who chaperoned Bob Marley on his last visit to New Zealand before he transcended. And so 12 Tribes of Israel is really big in New Zealand, and Israel Starr is sort of out of that camp. And Keepers of the Flame is the name of his album, which sounds wicked. And yeah, featuring all sorts of artists, Luton Fire and Luciano and Muda Baruka and some other Tiki Tane from Salmonella Dub in New Zealand, and some other artists in New Zealand. And big, and it's all wicked roots and dub and live instrumentation. It's exactly the kind of production I've been longing to hear from New Zealand for a minute now, because a lot of the reggae bands, the Fat Freddy's Drop and Cora and Salmonella Dub, and different bands from New Zealand that used to do a lot more reggae and dub, have kind of been going more towards the EDM, the electric dance music trend that's sort of bigger now, calling more money now, selling out more festivals now than reggae music. But it's really nice to hear the ones that are still there doing wicked albums like Israel Starr with Keepers of the Flame. And I'll go on record to promote this album too, from New Zealand, Troy Kingi, Troy, Troykingi, with Holy Colony Burning Acres, which is his roots reggae album, all original stuff, conscious, thought-provoking, original, unique roots and culture reggae music from Aotearoa, from New Zealand, with Troy Kingi with Holy Colony Burning Acres. So big up to Israel Starr with Keepers of the Flame. Big up to Troy Kingi with Holy Colony Burning Acres. And big up to Abja and Jalifa and Ancient King and Lion D and Hezron and Mikey General and Adis Pablo and Haile Israel and Perfect Gitamani and any of these artists that, and keep an eye out for Jadon Blackamore. Just look for Blackamore and Young Trip with the album. They're working on a full-length album. It's going to be wicked, dancehall, hip-hop, reggae, fusion, album. Going to be big things, some Afrobeat stuff in there. It's strong. It's strong. And that's coming out too, probably in the next few months. So that's 2020 up to now. And I can't wait to see what tomorrow brings, Brother Baba.
All right. Well, I think that the message was very overstanding, and we got to run here. And I'd like to thank the Bambu King once again for being on Baba TV Every Time Fire. This is his home. Before there was any Baba TV Every Time Fire, there was Baba and Ross AD and Washington DC. So, if I can't be true to myself, I can't be true to nobody else. So with that being said, shout out to Oregon. Shout out to the Reggae Fest coming up this Friday. Let me see here. Friday, we have Ross Ibamar and friends, special guest Ross Attitudes, and Selector AD on the sound, Friday, August 19th. And then
Audio cut off. I don't know what the audio cut off.
All right. All right, family. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. We're having some technical difficulties here, so I can see. All right. All right. We want to end this off because I can see it's always something. You know, they always out there. It's always something. I want to end this off with check out the Bambu King every Wednesday between 6 and 8, 89.5 KSKQ Internet Radio. You can Google that or download the simple app radio. Uh, it's a free app and download the same thing. And we want to end this off with our beloved Jadan Blackamore and what he did as a plug for Selector AD. Yo, can you hear me?
Yo, Baba. Yeah, I don't know. It's not working. It seems like it's not going through the mixer or something.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, I had to it locked me out there for a minute. So, all right, while we still on, I want to give a strong, powerful shout out once again to our brother AD. You can check him on the internet radio every Wednesday between 6 and 8, 89.5 KSKQ. You can Google that or download simple app, and you will be able to reach him there. And the same information, 89.5 KSKQ, between every Wednesday between 6 and 8. With that being said, we want to end it off with our beloved brother Jadan Blackamore, who did this beautiful plug for his channel. And with that, we want to say peace and love.
Peace.
This is Jadan Blackamore, and you're in tune to wisechoiceradio.com, world of reggae music non-stop, with Selector AD, the Bambu King. To all my seven crew, this year one for you. Fire Crown Sound run the place with you. Atom Jehuti at the control tower. This one specially manufactured for Selector AD, Bambu King.
Oh, yeah. Bambu King, oh, yeah. It's Blackamore, yeah. Reggae music. Selector AD bring the Bambu King, oh, yeah. Yeah, what we say? Well, she's one of the sweetest things in this world. I feel her like my heartbeat. Something so special about this girl. The whole world listens when she speaks. She makes me wanna sing a melody, sing a melody. I sing a melody, Selector AD. I sing a melody, bring a melody. We sing a melody for Anjali. AD, me have a special request. only to be blessed by AD sound particular. Them say you're full of niceness, relieve all your stress. That's why all over the world you're well popular. You make me waistline a wobble, 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 wobble. When me feel the treble and the bass line a bubble. Only for good vibrations are when me getting on. The whole dance around when me stepping on. The sweetest thing in this world, I feel it like my heart beat. Something so special about this girl. The whole world of this when you speak. You make me wanna sing a melody, bring a melody, sing a melody, select a AD. You bring a melody, bring a melody, sing a melody. You never let me down, down. Select a AD, when me call me start the festivities. Always good for inspiration, especially when you're listening 89.5 in a Ashland. Put a pep in your step, make a skank and galang. The sound system, it is the foundation, along with the proper equalization. Should move you and move you. One of the sweetest things in this world. Feel like a heartbeat. Something so special about this world. The whole world and it's so when we speak. You make me wanna sing a melody, sing a melody, sing a melody. Select an AD now. Sing a melody, sing a melody, sing a melody. For Angelina with the classics. He's always got the latest. And we make sure you're straight. Everyone participate. You get your special request so you can congratulate us. I put my music over many things. I wouldn't give her up for anything. This stuff forever seal up like a wedding ring. The whole world receive the joy that she brings. One of the sweetest things in this world. I feel her like my heart beat. Something so special about this girl. The whole world I listen when you speak. You make me wanna sing a melody, sing a melody, sing a melody. Select a AD. You bring a melody, bring a melody, bring a melody.